advice on love and relationships. She is the creator, producer, and host of the award-winning Dates and Mates podcast. And even with all of those accolades and so many more, her most cherished titles are wife and mother, proving she lives the practices that she teaches. On a personal note, I've known Damona since we were undergrads at Northwestern, and I currently serve as her head of programs, where I have personally seen the success stories of hopeful romantics finding their forever person and writing their own happily ever afters. Please join me in giving a warm welcome for the author of the soon-to-be best-selling book, F the Fairy Tale, Rewrite the Dating Myths and Live Your Own Love Story, Damona Hoffman.
Thank you so much, Marquise, for that wonderful welcome. Thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to share some insights from my new book, F the Fairy Tale, with you, and also to share my friend circle. I have been blessed with some of the most amazing friends that also happen to be love experts. I have a star-studded panel to introduce you to today, and we're going to be talking about the first of the 4 dating myths that you are going to learn about tonight, and also when you get your copy of F the Fairy Tale. So first, we have Jonathan Aslay. He is a midlife dating and relationship coach, and he is expanding into a deeper, essential philosophy of what it truly means to love. He has written a book all about self-love. It's called What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? It's packed with fun and engaging spiritual and personal growth practices. He's also a YouTube celebrity. Some of you have probably been watching his videos. He has also a dynamic midlife love mastery mentorship program that inspires hundreds of people daily around the world. Please help me welcome in Jonathan Aslay.
Hey.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you, Damona. We're the blessed ones that we get to know you.
Oh, shucks. Well, we're going to see all the wisdom dropped here in a minute. We also have Julie Spira, who I can crown as my very first friend in the dating and relationship biz. We met doing online dating coaching many, many years ago, like back when people were like, wait, is online dating a thing? Is coaching a thing? Yes, Julie and I were there. She's an award-winning dating coach, online dating expert, internationally known best-selling author, and she has almost 3 decades of experience in the biz and a passion for everything digital. You've seen her on Access Hollywood, Good Morning America, The Today Show, Boston Globe, Cosmopolitan. I could go on, but let's just welcome her in. Julie Spira, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
And she's wearing her signature red. She always wears red for interviews, and it's fabulous. Also wearing red, also fabulous, is my friend Lauren Francis. She's known as the Flirt Fairy. She's an author and dating expert and the creator of the Love Magnet Makeover. She has been called the Doctor of Love by Extra, the Flirt Fairy by Victoria's Secret, the Man Whisperer on Bravo. You've seen her all over, from Elle to Glamour to Women's Health. She does Love Magnet Makeovers for women, and she's done some of those transformations on TV. She has an amazing book called Dating, Mating, and Manhandling, an ornithological guide to men.
Bird
I need
watchers.
to use that one. And also, she's one of the reasons we're even here today, because she's one of the people who kicked me in the butt and said, Damona, you got to write a book. Get to your computer and get to work. So thank you so much, Lauren, for kicking me in the butt and also for being here with us live.
I was not wearing stilettos. Wait, I was actually.
And girl, it hurt. No. All right. The book is broken into what I see as the 4 biggest dating myths and the 4 pillars of long-term compatibility. So each half hour today, we're going to be talking about a different myth and a different pillar. I structured the book based on the myths that I see coming up for people in chronological order of the dating process. So we're going to start at the beginning today. We're going to start with I say the mindset phase of dating comes before you've even put up a dating profile or gone on any online dates. So with that, I see that the list myth is a real challenge for people. And when I say the list myth, I mean that we're all dating kind of checking boxes. Not everyone, of course. There's a lot of people watching right now that have done the work to really clarify what they're looking for. But still, I know I dated by list for a long time, and I'm sure many of the people that you coach and clients you have done that as well. And the funny thing is, I see, and I talk about this in F the Fairy Tale, that a lot of people say that they have a list, but then when I read the lists, a lot of the lists say the same thing. What do you find? I'm going to start with you, Jonathan. What do you see on the list all the time?
Well, since I coach women, it's usually how tall a person is. Like that's like probably the number one thing I see on the list is the height of a person. Certainly when it comes to examining men, I would think financial status is up there as well. I mean, that's kind of cave person, way of approaching it. The person with the biggest cave probably could take the best care of you. Those are like the two primary ones I see. Well, in midlife, it's also, do they have hair? But the
And
list
how
can
do
go on.
men
I'll let
feel
my
about
contemporary.
that? How do men feel about that, Jonathan? Because I know
You know,
I had hair as a requirement when I first met my husband, but
yeah.
we've been together for 20 years, and the hair requirement has had to be let's say has had to be softened a little bit.
I'm kind of not the right person to ask because my parents blessed me with the two most important qualities a woman's looking for, man. I'm 6'2" and have a full head of hair, and I don't color my hair either. And I'm a boomer.
I saw you post about that, and I wish I could say the same, but but you know how it is for ladies. It's different. Lauren,
Yeah.
I'm going to go over to you. I wonder, are you seeing the same list? Are you seeing those same requirements, or do you feel like it's shifted any in recent years?
That's a great question. So first of all, I'm so delighted to be here. I'm so proud of you. Writing a book is such a big and arduous task. Everybody wants to write one, and most people don't. And you got it published, and it's so great. Everybody, you're going to love it. So, the thing that's changed about the lists. I do coach women on. I'm a coach for primarily single women who are looking for love, and help them launch online. And one of the first things I do is have them write a list because I want to see what is in their mind. And one of the things that's gotten added to these lists is definitely politics. Politics are now on the list. They weren't on the list before. And in this way, they actually were never on anybody's list. They were just, you're just either Republican, moderate, liberal. And so this has become a really important thing. And I do want to say the funny thing about height, I always say some of the best men in the world are literally getting overlooked online. So I really do feel that what I try to do, I actually call it the frosting and the cake. I have people this is a tip. Can I give a tip?
Of course, please.
Yes.
Everybody get your pens out, start writing.
So I have people, I call it the frosting and the cake. I have people make a list of everything they could possibly want, even if it sounds outlandish, and then get a highlighter and highlight everything you have to have. So the things that you have to have are your cake, and the frosting is all the stuff that would be delicious. And I always say that you don't want to eat frosting right out of the can. Sometimes you do. And you don't want to have cake without any frosting. So most of the time people have expectations that are too low or are not specific.
Mm-hmm.
I do some other fun magic around, what a heart healing relationship would look like.
Yeah.
I do sadly have to plug in my computer.
Okay. Plug in your computer. I co-sign everything you just said. And I love the cake and frosting. I'm not a frosting person, guys. I don't know. I don't know if there's other frosting people, but I'll just go for the cake, just straight up the cake. But I want to go over to our digital matchmaker, Julie Spira, because Julie, I know you've coached people on dating apps for a long time. And I hear a lot as someone like, I've worked behind the scenes with a lot of dating apps, as I know you have too. I've worked with Match and OkCupid and Bumble. And I hear a lot from my podcast listeners and clients that people are like, it's dating apps' fault. Dating apps are making me choose the little boxes and they're making me date by list. What do you say to that, Julie? Do you think dating apps have led us to date by list more?
There's a balancing act. Yes, the lists are never going to go away. I mean, you always ask everybody in the beginning, what's your wish list? And then we try to hone it down. When you look at the dating apps, you have the opportunity in your bio with the character count to describe yourself. And traditionally it was called About Me. And it's really an opportunity to use, the words, the keywords to describe yourself in a way that doesn't look like every other profile. Then you go to the checkbox of lists. But by the way, you don't have to check every box. If you're uncomfortable about checking something about politics, and yes, that has become the number one deal breaker over what used to be smoking, dating a smoker was a deal breaker, you can just ignore it. So I ask people, how do you feel about this on the list? Do you have to talk about it? Is it that important? Is it a deal breaker or not? And don't forget to use that digital real estate and write something descriptive about yourself that doesn't have every other cliche in it. Like I like to go on beach walks and, dress in black tie to jeans and, all those cliches that make everybody yawn.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we end up reading a lot of the same things in profiles. And I know everyone watching right now has had that experience too from the other side. And we're like, why do all of these profiles look the same? We like to help you differentiate your profiles from others. But I kind of want to look at it from the flip side, Julie. I've been hearing also a lot of red flags, like where we have our list for what we want, but we also have our list for what we cannot accept and the red flags. And a lot of the dating apps now allow you to mark deal breakers. And I have a story in the book called Death by Dating Deal Breaker, where when you select the deal breakers, sometimes that removes people from your pool. What are your feelings about deal breakers? And when you're using an app specifically, how many do you think are useful and how many are limiting your pool too much?
I am not a fan of a deal breaker unless smoking really happens to be a deal breaker for somebody, because you are limiting your pool. So when you have this big wide world of 400 million potential singles, and then you're like, that's a deal breaker, that's a deal breaker, that's a deal breaker, it just tells me that you're very difficult. You're not easy to get along with. You won't negotiate. There's a balancing act between, like, is it really a deal breaker, or is it just, you prefer not to date somebody that lives more than 100 miles away or 3 miles from your house.
Yeah. So Jonathan, I'm going to go to you.
Yeah.
How can people reframe this? If they're like, I hear what Julie's saying, and maybe that's not a deal breaker, but on the flip side, like what I always hear on the Dates and Mates podcast is, how do I know if I'm settling?
Well, I have a different perspective on this, and I just want to throw this out for everyone for a second, because to some degree, like Julie said, there's not 400 million here in the United States, but there's well over 100 million singles. I feel like narrow your search down from one perspective, so you eliminate all those people that probably wouldn't be on your desired list anyway. Narrow it down and then focus in that arena at first. Okay. Now, if you've exhausted 20 million people or 5 million people or 3 million people, then you might need to expand it. But I'm actually here to suggest maybe it makes sense to narrow things down at first so you can see within that pool, because the hard part now is we're swimming in a sea of so many human beings. It's hard. And by the way, your thumbs can't swipe fast enough, to go through all the people. Maybe it's best to actually narrow things down for a moment, see within that pool, and if you find someone, great, and if not, then open it up after that.
I would say it's a balance, right? It's like you have to be specific enough, but not so specific you're ruling people out. Lauren, you were starting to say that you have ways of helping people really clarify what they're looking for without giving us all of your flirt fairy magic, which people are going to get access to after this forum, and there are gifts from everybody and links to everybody that you see here. Give us like a little taste though, Lauren.
A taste of
what we can do to clarify that more effectively of like what should be on the list, and how do you help people get into
such a great
making a list that's better, it's going to better serve them.
So the lists are for a couple of reasons. One of them is for the writing the profile, right? So there's a profile list. They generate lists and try to make it easy for you. And I'm kind of, in marketing, they say she who speaks to everyone speaks to no one. So when you have a niche, it's good. It feels authentic to the end user, right? It's not a general, you're not a muumuu. This is what I always say to women. You're not a muumuu. So it's like, you're not one size fits all. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the list is also really good for actual dating. And it's for man selection, it's for, partner selection. And you don't need to date a million people. People get dating fatigue. So I'm actually a fan of being more specific about who you're dating, having more qualified leads. The profile should ideally screen people out as well as magnetizing them in, because because what happens is if you start talking to a lot of randos, right? And if you have a lot of riz, like the kids say, if you've got a lot of charisma, right? You're pulling a lot of people in, people they just pass out. It's just too overwhelming. So you don't want to have romantic OCD or romantic ADD. You want to be clear and focused about who you're looking for. So what the lists serve to do is to online bounce people out. If you're doing it effectively, pull the right people in. And then your internal list really is about asking very targeted and qualified questions to see if people are lining up with what you really importantly talk about later on is values, like those big tent poles of relationship.
Oh, Lauren has read the book, y'all. She's dropping gems, the Fairy Tale Gems, which by the way, you can pre-order now. I'm going to go over to you, Julie, because I want to get some of those, like, as we're sort of screening people and figuring out how to whittle that pool down. I would love to get even some specific things that you recommend to clients to prepare for that process. And then also the other thing that's changed so much since you and I started doing this is the speed of dating. And I see that it used to be when clients would come to me for a dating profile, maybe they were going on maybe one date a quarter. And then maybe we could get them up to a couple dates a month. And that was really good. Now I feel like if people aren't going on 2 to 3 dates a week, they feel like they've failed. And then that has like amplifying effects, because when you feel like you're not dating, you're not having a good dating experience, you're not desired, or you're not meeting the right people, then it becomes frustrating and it becomes a big lift. So how can we screen our dates more effectively using a list that's better suited for us?
Well, you brought up an excellent point. I mean, there is an anxiety disorder, whether it's a dating anxiety disorder, online dating anxiety disorder. It's a real thing. People get anxious when they get overwhelmed, and then they get upset if they're not going on 3 dates a week. Well, why not? I hired a coach. I joined a dating app. I signed up for 6 months. Why am I not going on? Why am I not hearing from 5 guys a day? And why am I not going on 3 to 5 dates a week? It's exhausting going on 3 to 5 dates a week if you're going to be prepared for your date, and you should be prepared. You should be your absolute best on your first date, and you should not, be feeling like, oh my gosh, this date's over, I've got to run to the next one. You've got to give that person the quality time that they need. And I'm seeing the people rushing into the speed, as you were mentioning, Damona. It used to be, oh, I'll get back to them in, a day or two. I'm out with friends, I'm out with family. Now there's an anxious feeling. If I don't get back to this person, somebody else will, and then they won't be available tomorrow. And it's created this very anxious feeling. I want people to take a deep breath. I'd like you to respond within 24 hours. If you can respond within 3 to 6 hours, even better, because we'll get a push notification. But if you're truly busy and you can't get back to someone, don't wait 3 weeks, but don't wait 3 days either.
Julie, is it really true? Like, is it factual? I hear all the time that the paradox of choice. There's so many options online. Nobody is making decisions now. And like you just said something really, really poignant about how there's this feeling that if I don't respond right away, someone else will. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of people carrying right now, this feeling of like, I got to grab it before it's gone. But is that really what's happening? Or is that just what we're feeling internally?
I think it's happening for people that have a tendency to feel anxious about things in general. I think if somebody doesn't have that personality and they do take things methodically and they are willing to sleep on things, they won't feel that same feeling of, if, like my shelf life is going to expire in 6 to 12 hours. No, it's not. There are a lot of people out there, but there's more than one person for each and every one of you. So if this person rides off in the sunset with somebody else, don't give up hope like that was your last chance at finding love.
Yeah, I get a lot of questions that say like, well, does this mean I'm destined to be, I literally just got this one. Somebody said, does this mean I'm destined to be alone with my dog for the rest of my life? And it's like, well, that's a big extreme from like, this relationship didn't work out to I'm alone for the rest of my life. And like, I like to live in that in-between phase. Lauren, I saw you nodding when I was talking about this paradox of choice and is it real? Is it not real? What did you want to say?
Well, I do feel high quality people, especially high quality men, don't stay online long. They find somebody and then they get off the site. So it is true. It is true. And high quality women often do the same thing. So I think that there are certain, and I think it's an age thing also. I think that the older that men that are over 50, 60, 70, they find one woman and they just stop, right? That they want to date. It's like the one at a time gal plan, right? It's just one person at a time. And so if you don't have a speed of implementation, there are so many options coming in that people do move on. Now, the great news is there are so many options. So online dating is like musical chairs. It's just who's there when the music stops. So just like there are many options for men, there are many options for women. So I do think there's something to it. The other thing, though, that is also real is that a lot of people are busy and have lives. So, I will have clients who, I literally had a client who was like, oh my God, there's nobody today. There's nobody online. Oh my, she is deleting every single person that was in her inbox, every single person. And, she said, oh, I can't contact him. He wrote to me 3 weeks ago. I was like, oh, you can write to somebody who wrote to you a year ago, as long as they're online. There is no time online.
Yeah.
So just pretend. You never have to say, I'm sorry, I was busy. You just go, oh, hi there. What a delightful message. How are you? So, and they will respond. There is no time. So don't try to hop on it. But if you can't, just get back to people whenever you feel like it. And they will do the same with you. So don't take it personally if people are not responding, unless they unmatch with you. And then goodbye, good riddance. Next.
Yeah. I know it's hard not to take it personally, but I think everyone's hearing here that kind of from the love expert view, what it really looks like when you step back. Since we made some declarations about men, I'm of course going to go to the man on the panel in just a second, but I wanted to let everyone who's just joining us know that you can submit questions. I see now a Q&A. Somebody already has submitted, an anonymous attendee, but you should see a question option in the bottom of your Zoom here. If you're watching us on Zoom, go ahead and click there if you have a question that you want to have answered on the forum. And in the meantime, I'm just going to launch a little poll because I'm curious to know, we've got people who've signed up from all over the world. Just tell me, where are you at? I hope I have like all of the options, and I know I'm from the Midwest, so don't get mad that I only put Western US and Eastern US. Just pick one. Which time zone are you in? Which do you most identify with? Pick the location you most identify with. I'm just curious where everybody is from. And we will get to the chat in just a second, but I'm going to give Jonathan a chance to let us know what is happening in the male mind as it relates to everything Lauren was just saying.
Well, with respects to, whether we call them high value or not, I'm not really sure I even know what that means anymore. I will say that men, as they age, I tend to find if they're emotionally healthy men, then they prefer to date one person at a time. If a person is emotionally broken, they're oftentimes dating multiple people. Maybe they're uncertain to what they want. Maybe they've just come off a contentious relationship, a contentious divorce. Maybe they've got issues going on in their life. So if we qualify a person based on if they're emotionally grown up as high quality and a person who's emotionally wounded as not high quality, then I will say it depends on which bucket they fall in. Because a person who's an emotional grown up who clearly wants a significant relationship in their life, they prefer to date one person at a time. They also prefer responsiveness. I will tell you that if a person isn't responsive, that could be an indication that that person is emotionally not doing so well. Because I don't care how busy you are, my phone butt dials 5 times a day. So we have a capacity to check in with someone. And I think it's actually rather shameful, that's my choice, is when you don't act in a responsive manner, especially if you've engaged in conversation with someone. I believe responsiveness leads to more successful relationships.
Yeah, 100%. And I do think it's so individual, and I think things are shifting as well, because the timeline that people had before, like, I agree with you, Lauren, that there's no time. You can always restart a thread if there's interest there. But I do see that the speed has changed of dating and just the availability of options, which ultimately I think is for the good of all dating. But it does sort of complicate things. Just to kind of go back to what Julie was saying, it does add anxiety sometimes to the dating experience. So I'm just going to share the results of our poll here. We have mostly people from the Western US. I live in California now. We have 45% from the Western US, 35% from the Eastern. We have folks from Canada, from Europe, from Asia, and Australia. Wow, that's a lot of time zones. Thank you so much for being here, all of you guys. We're going to get to some of the questions, and then our next panel is starting imminently. So we're going to have time for one question. I got one that was submitted before. So here we go. Carol says, I find that being over 70, finding compatible men locally has not happened. On the dating sites, they're from all over the country. I wasn't even thinking about that when I put up the poll, but there you go. And that makes it a little bit more complicated. What do you suggest? I attend local events and keep my eyes open. Also, let people know I'm available. Julie, you're the digital matchmaker. Briefly, do you think that for someone over 70, online dating should be a part of their dating portfolio? Any way to filter out those that are not local?
Dating should absolutely be part of your portfolio, whether you're dating online and offline. You're just dating, do both. And if you meet somebody in the grocery store, how wonderful. But I don't believe that distance is a barrier to finding love. There are men who are retired and financially secure who will move across the country, who will move across the continent. I had a client who met someone who was in Paris and he was in California. She moved. He first visited her in Paris and she moved there happily married. I am watching people that are moving all of the time if they find that right connection. So don't be so set in, oh, they need to live within, one freeway from me, because when you meet that right person, they'll find a way to get to you.
Yes, 100%. And I have so many clients also that have met and married across the country, outside of the country. There's a way to do it. Of course, I talk about it in F the Fairy Tale, how to do it effectively, but you can also learn so much about online dating from Julie Spira. And everyone who's registered for this event, you're going to get a link to the replay. And in that replay, you're also going to have all the gifts from our amazing panelists. So Julie has given you Swiping Right, the cyber dating expert guide to finding love on your mobile phone. And it will help you with swipe fatigue. And there's so much there. So look out for that gift. We have from Jonathan. Jonathan I said he's a YouTube celebrity. You got to check it out. Go watch him on YouTube. We'll put a link in the replay page to Jonathan's YouTube. Thank you for sharing your insights with us today, Jonathan. And also Lauren Francis. Remember, we were talking about the Dating, Mating, and Manhandling, an Ornithological Guide to Men ebook. You're going to get it. Well, there's a physical book, but you're going to get access to the ebook just by attending this live stream. So thank you so much, all of you, for being here. And I appreciate your insights on the list, Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lots of
All right.
Go get them.
All right. We are rolling right into our next panel. We have our next panelists already up and ready for action. All right. Just as a reminder for anyone who's just joining, the Q&A button is open. You should see a Q&A down below. I do have some questions that were submitted earlier from the prior panel, so I'll aim to get them into the sessions, either this session or the next session. We have new panels every half hour, and we're going to be doing a world premiere of the F the Fairy Tale book trailer at the top of this hour. So, woo, I know, very exciting. As I said at the top of the hour, these are all the panelists that you see today. These are my friends. These are the folks that I go to for dating and relationship advice. These are people who've been on my podcast, who've collaborated with me, who've shared clients with me, who shared stories, shared tears, shared drinks, shared so many things, shared French fries. So with that, I will introduce my first guest. We share a love of French fries and so many other things. My dear friend, Francesca Hogi, she is known as the True Love Emissary. Get this, y'all. She is a corporate lawyer turned matchmaker, turned coach, turned love coach. She is a TEDx speaker. In fact, her TEDx talk, her TED talk, not TEDx. She's a TED speaker, TED big stage speaker. Her first TED talk is going to be released tomorrow, Friday, the 8th of December. So we're so excited for her to share that. She's a host of the Dear Franny podcast. She's been on the Today Show many, many times, Marie Claire, the New York Times, Harper's Bazaar, and the Huffington Post. She is the founder of True Love Society. And you might also recognize her. If you are a fan of Survivor, you might recognize her from that. Please help me welcome in Francesca Hogi.
Hi, Damona. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. And thank you for that amazing introduction.
Thank you so much for being here. And we also have the amazing Ariel Ford. Now, you guys, there's so much on Ariel's bio that I'm like, there's so much I want to tell you. I'm just going to give you a few of the highlights, but just trust me, there's more, because she has been a leading personality in the personal growth and contemporary spirituality movement for so long. She is a celebrated love and relationship expert. She's the co-creator and host of Evolving Wisdom's Art of Love series. She was actually a book publicist for many years, and she helped launch the careers of many New York Times best-selling self-help authors. A few people you might know, like Deepak Chopra, Jack Canfield, Don Miguel Ruiz of the Four Agreements, Debbie Ford. She's also worked with Marianne Williamson, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Gary Zukav. I mean, if that wasn't enough, she's also the author of 11 books, including the international bestseller, The Soulmate Secret, Manifest the Love of Your Life with the Law of Attraction. It's published in 21 languages in 40 countries, no big deal. She's written Turn Your Mate into Your Soulmate. She's written Wabi Sabi Love. She's done, I have her inspirations coloring book. It's like an adult coloring book to manifest your soulmate. It's amazing. I've read her new novel, The Love Thief. You guys, I can't believe she's here. She's the real deal. Please welcome Ariel Ford.
Thank you, Damona, and congratulations on this fabulous book. I know people are just going to go crazy for it.
Oh, thank you. I hope so. I've really put a lot of love into it and a lot of advice. So let's get into it with the second of the 4 love myths. If anyone's just coming in right now, I've separated the book into 4 myths and then replaced the myths with 4 pillars. So we're each half hour, we're going to talk about the various myths. Right now, we're going to talk about the rules myth. Now, I define the rules myth as the rules myth is, gosh, there's just been so many books and there's so many TikTok videos and there's so much out there about this is the way to do it. This is the way that find love. There's so much prescriptive advice. And I'm really more about helping people develop their own rules and their own strategies to be able to chart their own path to love. So I want to unpack that a little bit because Ariel, you've been in this business for a long time. You've written many books yourself. Do you think, I'm not talking about the rules, the book specifically, but do you think that the rules work or rules work in love?
Wow, that's a big one. Here's what I think. I think people first need to understand what love is. Most people have no idea what love is. They think love is a feeling. I know I love you because it feels like there's champagne bubbles going through my veins and I'm just like so swept away and I have butterflies in my stomach. And what that is, the state that we call being in love, is actually nature's greatest drug high. It's your brain on drugs, on oxytocin and adrenaline and dopamine and serotonin. But it's not what love is. Real mature adult love, and people are going to hate me for this, but what real mature adult love is a behavior. It's a choice. It's a decision. It's an action. It's a way of being. And when you're with your beloved longtime partner, best friend, your person, there will be days when you don't like them very much. In fact, you may hate them, but it doesn't mean that you don't love them. So I think it's really important that people come to understand what love is in the process of dating and picking somebody to spend the rest of your life with.
Ooh, that's a tall order, Ariel. That's a tall order. But Franny, you are the true love emissary. What are your thoughts on how to do that? And also, any thoughts you have about dating by rules?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's understandable that, dating it's complicated, it's triggering of our deepest insecurities, our deepest desires, our deepest fears. And so it is natural that people want a really specific set of rules that they can follow it feels like it's going to take some of that uncertainty out of the process. However, generally speaking, I am not a fan of rules. I mean, I'm a believer in having your own personal rules, your own personal, principles, your own personal guidelines, knowing your own values and all of that going into dating. But in terms of behavior and navigating dating by a lot of rules, that tends to really just put the focus on the wrong thing. So Ariel, actually what you just said about love and really understanding what love is, that it's a verb, it's how you treat people. It also goes into the desire to be in a relationship, because if you are following a lot of quote unquote rules and you're more focused on that than you are on making sure, am I showing up with authenticity? Am I letting myself be seen? Am I really seeing someone for who they are? That is going to kind of take a back seat to, a quote unquote rule. And those rules are not necessarily going to lead you into a loving relationship. So if the goal is to get into a loving relationship where you are both actively treating each other with love, then it's not about rules. It's about really understanding how to recognize and how to co-create that type of dynamic with someone, starting with the dating process, and really using that process as a way to develop more love skills. So not gaming, but like love skills that are actually going to serve you in your future relationship.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that. I'm curious, Ariel, when we are talking about the rules or whatever, even let's just say we're talking about our rules, and we look at the current landscape of dating, and you've been in this business a very, very long time. Overall, do you feel like the rules have shifted, or the even if we take it away from the word the rules, do you think that relationships are intrinsically different today than maybe they were 10 years ago or 20 years ago when I met my husband, or you know, more years ago when my parents met? How have you seen it evolve?
Well, I think now there's more information out there. There's more love coaches out there. There's more ways to understand what makes a great long-term committed monogamous marriage or partnership, which I don't think was available that long ago. So for me, it's really about knowing that everybody pretty much wants the same thing. We all want to be loved and accepted and appreciated for who we are. We want to be with somebody who will be our best friend, our lover, our protector, somebody who has our back. And most importantly, we want to find somebody that we feel emotionally and physically safe with. And you can't do that based on attraction. You know, oh God, he's so hot, she's so hot, I feel all this excitement. That is not an indicator that you could have an excellent relationship with somebody, which is why dating is so important, which is why it's really important that you give people a chance. You just don't swipe to the next picture. He's cute, she's cute, he's not. You know, you're leaving all this gold on the table when you're swiping so quickly. So remembering that ultimately what you're looking for, and I know you talk about this in your book, Damona, values. Do you have somebody that you can have this, you share the same values, you have a shared vision for a life, for the same kind of life together, that you want the same things, and that this is a person that you can trust your life with, that you can wake up every morning and know that the person lying next to you has your back, that they have, oh my goodness, sorry. So what this little thing that just went off is, it's 444. And every day at 444, my husband and I shout across the house to each other, I love you. Because for us, 444 means that God loves us. So every day at 444, the little thing goes off, which is another great thing to have with your partner, to have these little rituals that only the two of you know about, that really bind you together, that really make it your safe place to be.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love and the angel numbers and everything. That's a beautiful practice. And it kind of reinforces this idea that I have in F the Fairy Tale about, you get to rewrite the rules for yourself. You get to chart your own path, and you get to do it also when you're with a partner. You get to make those rules together. And rules or rituals, as you say. And I think that's so much better than it used to be. And I think there's so much opportunity, but we have so many questions. I think I'm just going to jump right into questions, because I could talk about the rules and the tools and the rituals all day. But there was actually one question that was submitted, Ariel, before in the forum before we started. And I really wanted to ask you this, because I do have a chapter called The Soulmate Myth. And somebody asked, do soulmates exist? I believe we have a few, with one special one. This is from Jacqueline, if you're here listening, Jacqueline. Do we hold out for that one special one, or just be happy with someone that is a good person? I was with someone, but attraction was non-existent after 23 years, and it dwindles after a few months, in truth. But he was good for me, in quotes. Now we have 3 amazing, almost grown kids, and I'm thinking of what I want now, and I'm confused. Now, Ariel, you have written an international bestseller called The Soulmate Secret: Manifest the Love of Your Life with the Law of Attraction. What do you say to Jacqueline and her question about the existence of soulmates, and what to do about this dwindling attraction that she feels?
Okay, so my definition of a soulmate is that it's first and foremost somebody you can completely be yourself with, somebody with whom you share unconditional love. And when you look into their eyes, you have the experience of being home. And if you accept that definition, then the truth is we all already have many, many soulmates. It could be our kids, our siblings, our parents, our coworkers, our best friends, even our cats and our dogs fit into that definition. So I firmly believe there's no shortage of love in the world. There's no shortage of potential soulmates, right? Because there's lots of people you can have those feelings with. And after 23 years, things do change. And then, we're adults, we're mature adults here. We get to choose. I have 23-year history with somebody who's good to me, who I have good experiences with. And yes, maybe there's this part of me that's, would like the excitement of, hot young love. Am I willing to give up 23 years of building a life with somebody? And that's a decision only one person can make. And if you decide to leave that person, it doesn't mean they weren't your soulmate. And we can all have many soulmates in a lifetime. This whole thing that we each only get one big love in a lifetime, it's just a big fat lie. It's not true. And even if you're with somebody for many years and you have kids and somebody cheats and you get divorced, it doesn't mean they weren't your soulmate. It just means that sometimes soulmate relationships come with an expiration date.
I love that answer. And I agree. I mean, I knew, because I've read your book, I knew that you believed that. And I wanted to clarify for anyone that is staying through the panels to see the soulmate myth, that we are completely aligned in that. The soulmate myth, when I say that, I mean the idea that there's only one, we're looking for just one, and the person in front of us, we're always guessing, is this, is good, but is this my soulmate? So thank you for clarifying that, and also for reminding us, we get to create that magic too. Like, I've been with my husband 20 years, since I was 4. You got, no, I'm kidding. But in 20 years, I don't feel that the attraction has dwindled, because I really make an effort to also continue to, I take responsibility for my part of maintaining that soulmate connection and continuing to show up and invest in him and receive that love in return. But I agree with you. It's not always, sometimes it's not right. And like you said, that doesn't mean that it's a waste. But it also doesn't mean you should stay in it if you're not getting your needs met. Franny, girl, we have a lot of questions. So, I know you've helped people with dating apps. You've worked with Bumble. You've worked with many dating apps for a long time. An anonymous attendee asks, what are good options to meet people other than dating apps?
Ooh, I love this question. I teach what I call the meet cute mindset. So the meet cute, right, that's the moment in the love story when the two love interests first meet. And that's really just meeting, right? And so often, especially nowadays, we assume and we think that dating means you have to be on a dating app and that's the only way to meet someone. And I'm very focused on really getting people to a place where you are of the mindset that every time you leave your house, you have the potential to meet someone special. And that's a state of mind, and that's an intention that if you let it guide you, then you will encounter people to potentially date. Now, that also comes to the next question, which is, what do you do when you go somewhere and you see somebody who looks interesting to you, intriguing to you, attractive to you? And if the answer is, well, I don't do anything, or that never happens, then it's like, okay, well, let's get some strategy around how can you be more comfortable flirting? How can you get into a mindset where you're not looking for like instant attraction? You're not looking for somebody who's so hot you just want to, jump on them, versus taking a step back and practicing, well, am I willing to understand that I'm a co-creator of chemistry? And, realizing things like making eye contact, having, starting conversations, being comfortable with that as you move through the world is, to me, more important than like going to specific places just to meet someone. Because another thing is that if you go places just to meet someone, you're like, okay, I'm going to go to this bar, this event, I hope I meet someone. I want you to have that mindset of like, I have that potential to meet someone, but also to know that like if you go places where you enjoy being, like if there are things that are interesting to you, if you're like, oh, I would love to go see that art exhibit, like follow that intuition, follow that inspiration, and take with you to that place and everywhere else you go this intention and this larger mindset of that you are open to connecting. So if you do that, then you will find that you will start to meet people more organically, and it won't be such a question of like, how do I go? How do I meet someone, or where do I go? Because you understand that wherever you go, you're bringing your magic, and wherever you are encountering other people, there is a potential for you to make a great connection.
So true. And y'all, Franny makes a lot of magic. She also does a lot with manifestation, as does Ariel. Franny, can you tell us also, you walk the talk that you just said. Can you tell everyone a brief version of the story? Some people have heard it on the Dates and Mates podcast when you shared it with me before, but can you give us a brief synopsis of how you met your current partner?
Yes. So this meet cute mindset is something that I developed for myself when I was single. I decided to challenge myself to see if I could move through the world in a way where I could organically meet men to date, because that was something that used to not happen for me. So I came up with this mantra: every time I leave my house, I have the potential to meet someone special. And that changed my behavior, and it also activated the universe. And I did wind up meeting my partner walking down the street in LA. We met on the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Doheny. And it was a whole crazy set of circumstances that even led, the both of us to be on that corner at that time. And by the way, it wasn't like love at first sight, but there was to me something about him that I was like, this person seems interesting. I feel like I'm supposed to just keep talking to him. So I really do walk my walk or walk my talk. And it did work. And that was 6 years ago. And, he's amazing. We have an incredible life together. So I just want to, thank you for giving me an opportunity to tell that story.
Yes, I love the story. I love you two together. And I love that you're teaching people how to do that same process for themselves. Ariel, I'm going to go back to you with a question from anonymous attendee. Let's see, where did it go? Okay. Someone said to me recently, make your life full. Not everyone finds a partner. I felt hopeless after that, and I wonder if I should accept that or keep trying. In the meantime, I do things that I love. What do you say to this person, Ariel?
First of all, I have to just tell Franny, I used to live on Doheny and Sunset.
You two could have met too.
Yeah, 999 North Doheny. That's so funny. So listen, there's no shortage of love in the world. Okay, there are 8 billion people alive today. Half of them are single. You are constantly walking past and bumping into potential partners all the time if you're paying attention. So, what we don't get to choose as manifestors, we know this, we get to place our order with the universe. We don't get to set the time. There's a thing called divine timing that sets it up. So staying open, willing, available, and visible to love is really the key mindset to have, and to be totally living in the now moment, that in this moment, I have everything that I need. In this moment, I have enough love. I have enough clean air to breathe, enough fresh water to drink, enough friends, enough abundance, and keep living in the abundance mindset, knowing and trusting that what you've asked for is already yours. And I just want to take 1 minute to talk about the quantum science of love. Okay, so in quantum science, we know a couple of things. The first thing we know is that there is no time. There's no past. There's no future. There is just this now moment. The other thing that we know is that we are already connected to everything and everybody. In the matrix, in the divine matrix, in the unified field, we are already connected to everything and everybody, which means that you are already at the heart level connected to your beloved. You don't know their name, you don't know where they are, you don't know the time and place that you're going to meet in the 3D world, but you can start the relationship right now in this moment. you can send out a golden cord of light into the field, into the heart of this person whose name you don't know, and start the relationship today, so that you're constantly living in the knowingness that you already have this love. Love is not missing. As long as you're living in the mindset, oh, I'm so alone, I have no love, all you're going to do is keep creating the field of no love. And I know this is slippery stuff. It's hard to hold on to. I've been teaching this stuff for 30 years, and I still remind myself of it every day. But this is a process I call love before first sight. And when I met my husband 26 years ago, I had been doing this process for myself. I had, for 6 months, every single day, sitting at my love altar at sunset, listening to Gregorian chants, connecting on a heart level with him. And on the day that we met in the 3D world, I knew, he knew, and everybody in the room knew, because the relationship had already begun.
Wow, that's very powerful. And it breaks my brain a tiny bit. I'll be honest. Some of the quantum stuff, I get it. Franny and I have had these conversations too. But I definitely have seen the results of just manifestation in terms of really having a clear focus on what the path that you're on in life, and the person that you're sort of calling in to your life. I think we have time for maybe one more quick question. And for those who are just popping in, there's a Q&A button at the bottom. Please put all your questions in there, and then I can give them to our panelists. Okay, there are so many questions. It's hard to choose. I'm trying to get through as many. My question is about, this is from Rana. My question is about dating in midlife. I'm being more intentional with my dating now, and I'm struggling to find a compatible man around my age who is active and fit. Do you have some advice for me with this dating challenge? Franny, do you have some advice with, is it a dating challenge? It's all in how we look at it, right?
I mean, look, I have so much to say. I'm like looking at the time and I'm like, okay, don't say everything. I think this actually is a good follow-up question to the last question, because ultimately it's about, I have a vision for the relationship that I want to have. I have this desire in my heart for partnership, and I'm questioning whether or not this is possible for me, right? And so that is ultimately, it's a totally reasonable question, but I believe that the answer is always yes. And so it's really a matter of getting yourself in a place where, are you going to find like a bunch of 50-year-old men who are, check all these boxes? Probably not, but that's always going to be the case regardless of your age. It's never, I mean, I've worked with people in their 70s, I've worked with people in their 20s, and everywhere in between. And anybody who is looking for a real true love, connected relationship, it's never like, oh my God, I've got so many options and I don't know which one to pick, right? So I would just encourage you to know that the love that you want in your heart, that you are being called to have with another person, that desire is not there for no reason. And to just know that you don't need to have 100 options on an app that are that check every box. It's really just knowing that, like Ariel was saying, like, you just haven't met this person yet, but to really get very, to build your confidence and your belief that the love that you want is on its way to you and you're on its way to it. And so it's just a matter of like, forget about the demographics, forget about how many people are on the apps or not. Do you believe in a universe where your ability to have love is dependent on an algorithm? And I personally don't believe that I don't believe that's the case. I believe that you can always have it. You can always find it. So just to be a little bit less focused on thinking that if I meet somebody who is fit and they do this and they do that, that's going to be compatibility, and start to expand what you're even prioritizing. And really think more about, what is the relationship that I want to have? What are the dynamics that I want to share with that person? And really start from that point versus being so focused on, do they have the same activities as me and all of that? And I'm not saying it doesn't mean that you don't get to be with somebody who's active, but also maybe it means that you're going to be with somebody who's going to get active because he loves you and you're like, hey, let's go for a hike. And then he goes for you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'll stop.
I agree with you 100%. And I wish we had all night just for you and I to talk. We have more panels coming up. I will just co-sign that really quick because I do yoga, and I was like, I need to find a guy who does yoga, which is like 4 guys. And then I realized my co-coach Yogi Marquise, he does yoga, but I realized that really wasn't what I was saying. Like sometimes it's in we're clarifying what we're actually saying. No, I want somebody that creates the space for me to still do the things that I love, who I'm also attracted to, who also has a similar worldview. And we'll talk about pillars later. But I just want to thank you all thank you both for being here. Really quickly, there were a couple questions that popped up, Ariel, about the love skills. Can you just explain what you mean by that real quick before you go?
What love skills? Which?
I mentioned love skills.
It's Franny. Okay.
Yeah.
The love skills.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying dating skills are love skills, right?
Yeah.
So the ability to, and so if you can approach dating, really embracing the process of dating, like, and not being so attached to each individual outcome, but recognizing like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to practice showing up with authenticity, allowing myself to be seen, seeing somebody else for who they really are, to be caring, to be vulnerable, to learn how to receive, to learn how to compromise, like all of the things that all those skills that really get tested in dating, those are skills that are going to serve you for the rest of your love life. So to really embrace the process of dating, understanding that, and not to just do it in, without end and not have any intention behind it, but to have the intention of understanding like every date that I go on, I have an ability to actually grow stronger in my ability to be loving.
I would add 2 things. I would add 2 things to that. Those are great, Franny. Curiosity and enthusiasm. Like really get excited for whatever it is they're sharing, even if it's totally foreign to you. Curiosity, enthusiasm, and all of that will, make you irresistible.
Yes. And flirting is a skill you need forever. So like get good at it while you're dating, because you're going to need it in your relationship going forward too.
Yes, 100%. And you can read about curiosity and enthusiasm in F the Fairy Tale, which, by the way, we're going to do in a sec. We're going to actually do the premiere of the trailer. But first, I just want to tell you about some awesome gifts that our panelists are giving to you. Ariel Ford has the online dating guide. If your heart's desire is to manifest the love of your life, we've been talking about manifesting this whole half hour. This is how you can make it happen. You can download her free guide. When you get the replay, you will also get access to her free gift and all of the other free gifts. And then Franny has the True Love Society community membership. You can have free membership in her community for single women who refuse to settle in love or life. You can join her for monthly Q&As, a library of self-love and dating resources, a supportive community, and so much more. And don't forget, her TED Talk is going to be released tomorrow. So that's on Friday the 8th. And it's all about transcending the fairy tale industrial complex. So you're seeing this word fairy tale come up again. Franny, I can't wait for that. Ariel, thank you so much for being here. Happy Hanukkah for those who celebrate. I'll be lighting the candles later, but thank you. I'm lighting the candles along with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations on the book, Demona. Everyone is so lucky that you wrote it.
Thank you.
I got to go find the dreidels. Thank you for having me. It was great to be with you all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to roll into the next panel in just a minute. But as promised, hot off the presses, we have the book trailer of F the Fairy Tale. I'm so proud to share it with you. It's just 1 minute long. And then I will introduce our panelists for the next segment. I hope you enjoy the F the Fairy Tale book trailer.
Dating today is effed. From ghosting and swipe fatigue to the texting trap, the idea of fairy tale romance has faded. I know this because for nearly 20 years, I've studied online dating and worked behind the scenes at the biggest dating apps in the world. You may have even seen my work on TV.
Our resident dating expert, Damona Hoffman, and Drew Crewer, who is my very, very good friend.
Or in magazines. But what I'm most passionate about is helping real people understand what's really happening in modern love. Even with the complexity of the current dating scene, you can still live your own love story. But it's time to bust the myths and ditch our outdated thinking. It's not your fault that you've been holding on to these broken beliefs. Rom-coms and romance novels have told us that we should feel butterflies when we meet our person. But those butterflies may actually be warning signs that we're reading all wrong. We must shift away from myths, lists, and rules because we're on the brink of a new relationship paradigm, one that's driven by the real pillars of love. The lead character of your love story deserves a happily ever after, and now you get to create it.
And I hope you all enjoyed that little sneak peek at what you get inside F the Fairy Tale. By the way, I have to mention that we're doing a pre-order giveaway that my publisher said is the biggest giveaway they've ever done for a book. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what's inside. First of all, you saw Drew Barrymore in the trailer there. I work as the official love expert of that show. I'm in the Drew crew. And we're going to be giving away 2 VIP tickets to come and see Drew live and in person and watch a taping right there on the floor, right next to Drew. And it is, I've been working in television for over a decade. And I have to tell you, this is the most fun show you will ever go to. It is such a riot. You never know what's going to happen. And Drew is every bit as delightful as she seems on TV. You also could win a $500 travel voucher. And that can go to New York or anywhere you want to go. You can win a $500 shopping spree courtesy of Democracy Clothing. It just so happens I'm wearing my Democracy dress, but they make amazing jeans as well. And for 39 people, I know it's kind of a weird number, 39 people will also win a membership to OkCupid for 3 months, a premium membership. So you get all the bells and whistles of OkCupid for free. So if you're interested in being in the running to win one of those prizes or all of those prizes, make sure you go to damonahoffman.com/giveaway. You pre-order the book anytime between now and when the book is out, January 2nd, submit your receipt and you'll be entered for a chance to win that giveaway, which is pretty darn amazing. So we also have some pretty darn amazing speakers who are ready, standing by to talk to you right now. Let me give them a little intro. The first of our 2 speakers is a longtime friend of mine. He actually was the co-host with me on #BlackLove. I don't know if anyone had a chance to watch that TV series that we did, a spinoff of Married at First Sight. But man, he is amazing. He's also a psychotherapist and the founder of the Good Men Club. He's been on Real Housewives of Atlanta. You were fabulous on that, by the way, my friend. He's been on Married to Medicine, Divorce Court, BBC, Fox News, Nightline, Lifetime, CBS. I could go on, but please just help me welcome my dear friend, Jack A. Daniels. Yay!
I don't know if people are clapping or not, but it sounds like it in my head.
It's hard to hear it in the webinar format, but I'm clapping for you, certainly.
I'm clapping for you. You famous. I love it. I love it. I love it. You like awesome. Got the whole book trailer. I just happy to know you.
I'm happy to know you too, and I'm happy you're here. And I'm also happy to introduce our other panelist for this session, Talia Goldstein. Now, Talia is also a very big deal, y'all. I'm sure you've heard of 3 Day Rule. They're one of the biggest matchmaking companies in the country. She is the founder, y'all, of 3 Day Rule. She's been featured on tons of news outlets from Good Morning America to CNN, and she's found matches for hundreds of clients a lot of celebrity clients as well, executives, entrepreneurs, celebrities. For years, we've shared clients, we've shared stories, we've shared advice. Please welcome in Talia Goldstein.
Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations. That trailer was amazing.
Thank you. And also, I love your pink top is amazing, and that's beautiful.
Matches the book.
Well, actually, I'll use your pink top to sort of cue us into our next myth. And for those who are just joining, the book is broken into the four biggest myths that I see as a dating and relationship coach that stop people from being able to find their forever person and really be satisfied in the relationships that they're in. I do give 4 pillars as well, and we'll be talking about the pillars in later sessions. But one of the myths that I think honestly is the most prevalent is the chemistry myth. And I feel like there's so much that factors into chemistry. It could be the color that you're wearing. It could be what happened before, what you're bringing into the date. It could just be like they remind you of something. You like their haircut. There's so many things that create chemistry, the location that you're in. And I feel like I get the most questions about chemistry. But I want to know from your perspectives, having set up dates, having counseled people through dates, what is chemistry really, Talia? What are people actually, when they tell you, oh, I didn't feel the chemistry when you set up a match, what are they actually talking about?
Yeah, I think what they're saying is a feeling that they have. They want to feel fireworks and the butterflies and the excitement like chemically in their body. And what typically happens is when you do feel that, it's a negative sign. And actually what you should feel is none of that. And you should feel a sense of home. You should feel comfort, like you're 100% yourself. So it's a really confusing thing because people don't understand that butterflies are typically a negative.
Oh, yes. I agree with you. Butterflies are typically a negative. I actually say in F the Fairy Tale, I drew a lot from interviews that I've had with guests on my podcast, Dates and Mates. I had Dr. Drew Pinsky on our 400th episode, and he said something interesting. He said, we want butterflies and not lightning bolts. What do you think about that, Jack? Are you like butterflies, thumbs up, butterflies down, lightning bolts? What do you think all of those feelings in our body mean?
I equate it to, that's interesting that you say that. Because when you say that, I think more about like a lighter. If you think of a lighter, when you're in this flickering, if you're trying to get to actually spark and have that fire, I equate some of the butterflies to the spark. And what most people need to be doing is looking for the flame and for the fire. But most people love that spark. They love that. So when you say lightning bolt, I think of a spark. And unfortunately, what most of us are going around doing is looking for those little tidbits of things that just give us a spark, and they don't last for a lifetime. And I think those are the stories that we tell ourselves that are important to us. Like, well, I need them to look like this. I need her to have these features. And those are the things that keep us in that spark phase, but not in the fire phase.
I love your analogies. I love the way that you paint the pictures and walk people through this experience. And, I agree that like you have to feel something, but I find that a lot of times we put so much pressure on that first interaction, that first date, that first impression. And for me, and for most of my clients, chemistry really develops. It develops over time. Do you think, Talia, that like when do you expect your clients to feel chemistry? Because like as a matchmaker, I'm sure you're setting up a lot of people with dates that from what they've told you and what you've found out about the person, that there's something deeper than just the first physical attraction. When do you expect your clients to feel the chemistry though?
Yes. So we set our clients up, and by the time they go on the date, we already know, the core values align and, what their non-negotiables align. So really the last part is whether the connection is there. After the date, we get post-date feedback from both parties. And I find that feedback to be incredibly interesting and helpful, typically what happens, especially for women, is they come back and they say, he was really kind and interesting, but I didn't feel that spark. And they're ready to give up. And what we say is, if you found them kind and remotely attractive, it's so important to go out again, because you'll see a different side to them, and chemistry typically can grow. So when I analyze success stories, hundreds of success stories that we've, ultimately ended up in engagement, usually the women are cautiously optimistic. Like, they're not sure on that first date or even the second. And it's really that third, fourth, or fifth where all of a sudden it clicks and the chemistry is there. So it's a slow burn, and it typically doesn't happen right away.
100% agree with you. I talk in F the Fairy Tale about, I have a 3-date rule. I say, if you're curious enough about them after the first date, give it a second date. If you're curious enough to spend another hour with them, go on the third date. I usually find that if by the third date, you're not like, what would it be like? What could I do with this person? Then usually that's probably not the relationship for you. Maybe that's more of a friend or another kind of connection. But one question I get all the time on Dates and Mates, I got to ask you, as the man on this panel, Jack A. Daniels, I got to ask you the sex question. Sex on the first date, yes or no?
Why would you ask me that? Like what? Are you kidding? Like, okay.
Because I'll tell you why I ask you that.
Okay.
Because I feel like a lot of my female listeners will say, well, men just want to sleep with anything that walks. And then there's some people that say, well, if you sleep with them, then they're not going to want a relationship. But you've been doing this a long time. You've talked to a lot of good men and a lot of good women. What is the real deal?
I've seen it both ways. And there's no good, there's no bad, there's no ugly, there's no right, no wrong. What I've seen is when people are in alignment, people have an attraction, they have their core values, they have a lot of things that they have compatibility on, the chemistry actually forms. Sex is sometimes, often for a man, just release. Now, it's not to say that we don't value it, we don't emotionally bond with it. We do, but some men are out looking simply for a lustful thing. And if you're on a date and it happens to happen, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's not going to be any long-term commitment. What it means is, hey, we were compatible in this area of our life, but what needs to happen is we got to figure out if we're compatible in all of these other areas, because sex is easy. Sex is like, if we're in alignment there, great. What about emotionally? What about spiritually? What about financially? What about all of the other things that are going to help us stay together for the duration of time? I've seen it both ways. I've seen couples who have had sex on the first date and they're married for 20 years. I've seen couples that have sex on the first date. That was it, 20 minutes. That's it. Like, I'm not calling anymore. I'm on to the next. So I don't think sex is the undisputed answer for a relationship to last. I really think it depends on the people and the alignment of the people as to whether or not they're going to be compatible for the long haul. So, yeah, I mean, do men want it? Absolutely. Give it to us. Absolutely. Not all men. I think men who are out looking for that, they're going to seek it. But those that value themselves, they value the idea of relationships, of family, of legacy, they're going to be looking for something more than just a quick fix and somebody to lay in the bed with. They want somebody that's going to be there for the long haul.
Yeah, it's a complicated question. I have to say, and I'm actually going to be addressing a question like this on, I'm taping a few episodes of the Drew Barrymore show next week. And I had this debate with my producer because I said, in the 17 years that I've been coaching, the reality is you're a grown up, you do whatever you want. The reality is, with all of my clients, anyone who had sex on the first date is not actually still with that person.
Really?
That's just in my practice. Now, I've heard stories of other people.
Yeah.
But So I know it happens, and I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just like, I do this with OkCupid data. I do this, on Dates and Mates when I'm looking at stats and stories.
Yeah.
I just give you the stats. So, I offer that up. I don't know, Talia, if they're giving you in your post-date assessment, if they're giving you all of the details, the juicy details.
Yeah, there's no TMI in matchmaking. We get a lot of the details. But typically you need time to form the connection, at least on the woman's side. And so we don't believe there are any rules. Like, you can do whatever you want. We're not going to set strict rules, but typically waiting at least a handful of dates will lead to more success than the first date.
100%. Okay. I'm going to get involvement from everybody listening, watching right now. If you all have a question, we're going to move into some Q&A. Put your question in the Q&A box down below, but I'm going to get everyone involved because I'm going to launch a poll. I want to know about your favorite places to find dates. We have Talia here, who's a matchmaker. Jack, you've done some matchmaking events. You're a coach. You're a psychotherapist. I know we together have coached people on various ways to make connections, but I want to get a temperature read from the audience here. What's your favorite place to find dates? And I listed online dating apps. It should just pop up in your Zoom, everybody. Online dating apps, social media, or other online sources, through friends, in person, out and about, professional matchmaking or singles events, or another option. And another option better be like none of the above. Okay. It better not be that. So I'm going to go into some Q&A while folks are filling out that poll. We've only got about 40% participation. So take a minute. Just let me know. What's your favorite? It's interesting. I'm watching the results come in. We'll come back to that in a second, but I want to answer Jack. You are the founder of the Good Men Club. You're going to give everybody access to your free training. Where are all the good men after this forum?
Yeah.
There's a question here from an anonymous attendee who says, with post-COVID dating, there are so many red flags in men. How do you stay positive?
So many red flags. Wow, that's a loaded question.
But I know you hear this because you named it Good Men.
I think men are getting a bad rap is what I'll say. There are a lot of great guys out here that are saying, hey, I'm single, successful, I'm ready to be married, but I can't seem to find quality women. And believe it or not, there are a lot of guys who have their stuff together, that they have their morals, they have, they're reliable, they're responsible, they're kind, they're considerate, they have integrity, honest, great character. And they're having hard time finding quality women. So what we've done is we started collecting them, and we've been collecting them for a number of years. So we have like this huge database of great guys who are saying, I just want a quality woman who gets me, who understands me, and who is not out to use me, who is not out to take advantage of, or to get a free meal, or get a bag or something to that effect. Like a woman who's genuinely interested in family, in building legacy, partnership. And I think that the good guys are getting overshadowed by the bad guys. Mm-hmm. And most women, unfortunately, gravitate towards the red flags that attract them to some of the bad guys, stemming from back in childhood, whether you were going for the bad boy, and you still want that man. You want the bravado, the machismo, and the roughness and the adventure. You want that. You love that. But the good guys, he gets up, he goes to work, comes back home. He may be a little boring. He may not have as much adventure, but he's solid, he's stable. And some women don't really have the capacity to be exposed to what stability looks like, because their life has been so up and down, and whatever trauma that they've had and seen from the exposure and experiences from their past, their parents, the partners that they've been with. So I think that the good guys are getting a really bad rap. And I think that there are more of them than a lot of people believe. And that's why we started collecting them and trying to connect them to as many women as we possibly could.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually talk in the book about how I had a dating plan for myself, and I called it Operation Date Nice Guys. Like, we had a code word at the office.
But why they gotta be nice guys? Like thinking like nice guys. They're not.
Well, and that was my definition, right? Like, and I know like nice guys has now taken on another connotation. This was 20 years ago. That was my definition because someone reflected to me, my boss at the time was like, I don't like how these guys that you're dating are treating you. I was going out all the time, but I wasn't meeting people who were really aligned with me in my long-term goals. So I had to create like a plan around it for myself because my attractions were to what you were just saying. I'm like, oh, if you got tattoos and your father left you and like you have dreams to be a rock star, but you've never made an album, like, let me fix you, honey.
Oh.
And it never worked. I never fixed anybody. But then when I met my husband, it was a totally different thing. Talia, as a matchmaker, you work with both men and women, right? So you have people coming to you with their hopes and dreams for a partner. And I'm curious what your reaction is to that, and how, even maybe reframing some of the language that we use when we are sort of ordering up our partner from the great dating buffet in the sky.
Yeah, I love everything you said, because usually those good guys, the consistent guys, win in the end. But we are attracted to like the charismatic, charming types that, are not always the best guys. So like those stable guys end up being the best long-term partners. So as matchmakers, we just help our clients reorganize their list and figure out what are the qualities that are really going to make a difference in 20 years. And thinking long-term versus short-term, the lists are quite different. So you ultimately want someone who's supportive and loyal. And if you want kids, will be a great father. Like, that's what really you should be looking for in a partner. And so if you're dating, it often happens where people are dating multiple people at the same time, and they're so excited about the one that has a lot of chemistry, and the stable, nice guys sort of in the background, but ultimately that guy will win in the end because he will call when he says he will follow through, he will be thoughtful. And so usually that is who they end up marrying.
Yes, 100%. I've lived it. I've seen it with so many clients over the years. I'm going to share the results of our poll. Turns out and about, in person, out and about is our big winner with 46%. Dating apps tied with through friends. And then there, I want to know what the other option is. Professional matchmaking is at 5% and social media is at 2%. I was wondering if anyone was going to put in social media. So there were a couple people that, like when I say online dating, really online dating is the whole landscape of how you can meet someone. But it's funny, Shauna here in the chat said that in the Q&A said, can't say that any options for meeting people are my favorite, and apps are just part of the process. I think all of these options are good options. And I agree with that. Like, I think we have to be open to using all the tools available to us. And sometimes we put a lot of pressure on one, whether it's a dating app or our matchmaker or our friends, we put a lot of pressure on one. And it's interesting that I'm just going to kind of ring the bell here for what I'm seeing, because a lot of people will say, well, my favorite way is to meet in person out and about. But I'm just going to ask you all that put that in, what you're actively doing to make that happen. And has that actually manifested dates for you, let's say in the last 6 months? And I'm not going to do any coaching. I'm going to tell you, you can buy the book and you can get some coaching in here around that. But if that is your choice and you say that is your preferred method, it does require a different level of presence and activity and showing up. So I just ask you if you chose that, how you are making that your most, not just favorite, but your most viable way of meeting matches. So So yes, the link is actually, F the Fairy Tale book, or DamonaHoffman.com/F the Fairy Tale if you haven't gotten your book yet. And if you want to enter the giveaway, which I talked about earlier, the giveaway is DamonaHoffman.com/giveaway. Oh my gosh, it's already the top of the hour. We're already getting our new panelists. I wanted to ask more questions. Okay, last question, really quick. How do I get one of these nice guys? Jack, anonymous attendee asks, how do I get one of these nice guys?
Go to wherethemenatat.com.
You can
wherethemenatat.com.
You can also just go to the replay page, which we will email out to you tomorrow. And we have gifts from all of our panelists. So yes, you can get Jack's free training. Where are all the good men? The truth about how to meet the quality men you deserve. Also, Talia, we just scratched the surface talking about matchmaking, but I just want to give you a sec to let people know how that differs from what I do as a dating coach and what people might have seen on TV. What is matchmaking today?
Well, first of all, anyone can sign up for free to be in the network and be eligible to be matched with clients. But matchmaking, basically you work one-on-one with a matchmaker. We get to know you and what you're looking for. And then it's like outsourcing your dating life, where we're going through all the interviews of your potential matches, and we're just sending you the ones that are really worth your time and meet what you're looking for.
And 3-day rule is national, international?
We're national.
National. Yes. Okay. All right. So those of you, we did a poll earlier where everybody was at. Those of you in Australia and in Europe, come across the pond, and Talia can find you some matches. And I actually have a collaboration with 3-day rule. So if you go to 3dayrule.com/Damona Hoffman, my full name, that will take you to the page where you can fill out an application there, right, Talia?
Exactly. Yes.
Fill out an application. That link will also be on the replay page. Thank you so much for being here, both of you. It's so good to see your beautiful faces, to be reunited with you. I've known both of these people for so long, and you're doing some amazing love work in the world. So thank you for being here with me.
Thank you. I can't wait to give all my clients your book. Congratulations.
I know that's right. Congratulations. Best summer.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, we are moving into the next panel in just a moment. We are getting our panelists in here. I hope you all are enjoying this so far. And all of these panelists that you see are they're my love friends, my friends in love business. We all collaborate, we all talk, we all share stories, we share advice, we share wisdom. And it's really, I find it very exciting to see that there's differing perspectives. There's no one right or wrong way to do this. So, I just really encourage you in this experience that we have together to really dive in. Thank you for all the questions you've submitted. Keep them coming. If you see the Q&A button at the bottom, whoa, it lit up. We got a lot more questions in the last few minutes. And don't worry about all the links. I see some questions here about all the links. Don't worry about writing down the links. You're going to get an email tomorrow with a replay to this. So if you missed any of the panels, you can always go back, and you can also then click the links for all the gifts. You'll see the pictures of our panelists, and you'll see the description of their gifts. I can't answer any questions from raised hands. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the Q&A. If you have a question or a comment, the chat is not open right now because we have a lot of people here watching live. So we just want you to have a streamlined experience that's not too chaotic, but I will get your question if you put it there in the Q&A. So I'm going to actually invite my first panelist in. We have another panelist who is in our waiting room who will be joining us in a second. But I got to tell you about my first guest. We are recording. We are ready for the next panel. Okay. First of all, y'all, Mike Goldstein is a one-on-one dating and relationship expert. But you've probably seen him on YouTube because he's like kind of big deal on YouTube. I've been featured on his YouTube channel, but he has so much amazing advice there. He's the founder of Easy Dating Coach, where he helps men and women make relationships easy. And he's been featured on the Today Show, the Star Ledger, Reader's Digest, Shape Magazine. Now, this is what you got to hear, everybody. Mike Goldstein gets 83% of his clients into relationships from online and offline methods. This is an insanely high success rate. So I just want to welcome him in, a dear friend of mine and collaborator, Mike Goldstein of Easy Dating Coach. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, Damona. It's so nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you too. And while we are waiting for our second panelist, I wanted to introduce you to someone else who Mike knows, because Mike and I have collaborated before, but Coach Yogi Marquise is my head of coaching, my VIP coach. And some of you have met him before. Say hello, Yogi Marquise.
Hello, hello. Hey now, Mike.
Hey, Yogi. Nice to see you, buddy.
This is like a Damona Hoffman. This is your life, seeing all of these love experts and people that I really trust and go to for relationship advice come together today. And I'll tell you a little bit about our next panelist who's going to be joining us. And then we'll set up we're going over the 4 biggest dating myths and the 4 pillars of long-term compatibility tonight, which are all for you in F the Fairy Tale. So my next panelist, let's see, is she here? Jaspina Ulawalia. There she is. All right. Jaspina is an Indian American attorney turned matchmaker. Crazy that we've had 2 attorney turned matchmakers already, and we're only halfway through the event. But she is also the founder and president of Intersections Match by Jaspina, and that's a premier personalized matchmaking and dating coaching firm for Indian singles in the US, Canada, and UK. I know we have people from all of those countries here with us tonight. She was certified as a matchmaker by the Matchmaking Institute. I just learned tonight that she's a finalist in Oprah's Search for a TV Host. She's been in the New York Times. She's been in Chicago Tribune, the Huffington Post, Washington Post. Now she's here with us. Thank you for being here, Jaspina.
A pleasure to be here, Damona.
Oh my gosh. All my love friends are here together, and we are all talking about these 4 dating myths. Okay. So we've gone over the list myth. We've gone over the rules myth. We've gone over the chemistry myth. And now this is the myth that I keep getting asked questions about, that people seem most intrigued about when they read the book. And that is the soulmate myth. The soulmate myth, the way that I look at it, is we've been sold a bill of goods, y'all. Like, there's such a in rom-coms and fairy tales, we are told that there's one true person out there. And yet I feel like our quest for a soulmate and one perfect person sometimes keeps us single. It keeps us from being able to see the person that's right there in front of us, because we're always questioning, I like them. They're a good guy. They're a nice girl, but are they my soulmate? And then it always feels like you're looking for like a needle in a haystack, right? You're trying to find the perfect option, and sometimes you miss a wonderful option that's right in front of you. So I really want to deconstruct this today. There's been a lot of talk about soulmates, twin flames. Are any of you watching the Twin Flames miniseries on Netflix? Anybody seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but you know about, there's like, these people that say, oh, we can tell you just by looking at you who's your twin flame. Do you believe in soulmates? Let's start there. Mike Goldstein of Easy Dating Coach, do you believe in soulmates?
Well, not really. And let me explain. I'm like a student of John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I interviewed him, and he said, I believe every person has about 300,000 matches that would work for them. And so I was like, All right, that seems reasonable. So that's kind of where I'm at.
That's a 300,000 needles in a haystack. Seems like pretty good odds. What do you think, Jasbina? Do you believe in soulmates? And I know you come from an East meets West sort of perspective, and some Eastern cultures have different impressions of what, soulmates or compatibility is. Does that inform your advice for folks listening today?
What I really like to do is meet someone where they are. Okay, so to the extent that someone has certain Eastern beliefs, I really do want to get to know what their particular beliefs are and try to bridge that with sort of the reality of what's out there in that sense. But in terms of soulmates themselves, I do agree with Mike that, it's so limiting to think of one soulmate out there. So really there are so many. If we think about it also, we as people are not, we're dynamic, right? We're growing, we're evolving. We're not the same person today even that we will be, a month from now. So from that perspective, if there is one perfect person there, are they going to be the perfect person next week or what have you? So I think it's really limiting to think of just one person as your like one soulmate. And I like to think more expansively and more that, we can be the people that can attract many different people. It doesn't have to be just one prototype soulmate.
Yeah, I like that expansive view. And I feel like it really brings a lot of hope to the process too, because, sometimes we get caught on this idea of like, oh, it was the person and now, it was almost right, but then it wasn't. And now they're in your past and you missed it. You missed the moment. Yogi Marquise, soulmates, what do you think?
I think that there's people that we get along with, but as a whole, when you're trying to build a relationship, something that you're hoping that lasts 20, 30, 40 years ago, like in the future, you're looking for somebody that you can grow with, that you can communicate with, and somebody you have like shared values and a shared perspective in where you want to go. If you're looking for this wild connection that's going to be there, that is the sparks will fly, you'll be excited, but you know what? Both of you guys are going to get older. Both of you guys are going to lose hair or grow in places where you don't want to grow. And the things that allow you to stay together and work together is the way that you guys communicate, the ways that you want to trust and build with each other so that you can actually live that long-term life that you talk about and not just the sparks that kind of just go out.
Mm-hmm. Said like someone who was one of my first readers of an early draft of After Fairy Tale and who has been coaching with me for 2.5 years now. Mm-hmm. So agreed. It's really much more about those goals and those values, and you can kind of make anyone into your soulmate if you're willing to step into that experience. Just going through the questions here and the comments in the chat. Anonymous attendee says twin flames is a hot mess. It sure is. Like Google how to know if you're in a cult and then watch Twin Flames. But also Colleen says hello, Yogi Marquise. And Maggie says, when are you going to trust yourself? There are so many soulmates for each of us. We don't necessarily marry them. I do like this expansive view of soulmates. I just find that most people use the term soulmates to mean my one true only. And actually, when I was writing the book and doing my research, I, as OkCupid's official dating coach, I have access to all of the matching questions over the last 20 years. OkCupid's actually about to celebrate their 20th anniversary. So I can look back at how attitudes have changed, how people have answered matching questions. And I looked at this one question, is a soulmate worth waiting for? 90% of people said yes. And that honestly socked me in the gut, y'all, because I was like, what are we even waiting for? We're not waiting for anything. We are not waiting for anything. And sometimes that idea of like the perfect soulmate does keep a lot of us in that space of waiting. So I want to get into some questions here from the audience. And some real tangible takeaways that people can leave with tonight. For those of you who've asked, we are going to be giving a recording of all of the panels. So if you missed anything tonight, don't you worry, we got you covered. We'll also link out to the F the Fairy Tale book and pre-order giveaway, which if you haven't heard is pretty darn sweet. We've got tickets to the Drew Barrymore show. We've got a $500 travel voucher. We've got a $500 wardrobe and consultation from Democracy Clothing, who provided me with this amazing dress and has wonderful jeans for like all body types. And then also 39 of you will get OkCupid Premium just for buying the book and for giving us your receipt and submitting to the giveaway at damonahoffman.com/giveaway. So let's go into some of these questions, y'all. I want to just like get into the nitty gritty. Mike Goldstein, how do you deal with feeling like you've exhausted the dating pool in your late 30s? This is an anonymous question. I know you work with folks of all ages, and even it's funny because like late 30s, I as among my dating pool of dating coaching clients, that's really on the younger side. But you're already feeling exhausted, like you've exhausted your dating pool in your 30s. What do you say to this person, Mike?
I can relate. I'm in my late 30s, and probably for years I have also felt like, oh, I must have went through every woman. I must have. I've hit all of them. So like I'm out of luck. Like it's never going to happen for me. And you go into this like woe is me and this mindset. And it's like, if we're looking at empirical data, it's just frankly not true. We have not met all the women or all the men. And what, at least for me, what the problem was just mindset. Like I had this very limited window of folks I would date. And, at 26, like I always used to date women that I used my eyes and they were pretty to me. And that's who I dated. That was the number one reason that got me to date. And then around 26, I'm like, hold on, this is a very limiting way to date. I need to change this. And I, in my brain, said, I'm changing this. But even through my mid 30s, I still did a lot of my dating based on, ooh, she's pretty. And then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, if I'm going to be with this person for 50 more years, is this going to work for me? Am I getting the people that really endear to me and like I want to go through war with, go through, live with, have conflict with, have conversations with? So then I opened it up and I'm like, yes, obviously I need to be attractive, but now I've got this much bigger pool of dating that I can do. And I had this other belief. I'm like, Damona, and you never heard this, but I'm like, I must date someone who plays sports and has the mindset of like an athlete, like I don't give up and I love working out and nothing can stop me and I've got discipline. I'm going to go to the gym today. And that's the only people I would date. And then fast forward, I run into Paige, who doesn't work out, who, doesn't have this mindset of I must do. And oddly enough, on our first date, I couldn't get enough of her. All I wanted to do was keep talking to her, and I'm smiling ear to ear, and we're having the best conversation ever. And then I go home from the date, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to see her again. And then date 2, date 3, date 4, and we're having an amazing time. And in between the dates, I'm feeling, ooh, this woman's amazing. But then there was a part of me that was feeling really uncomfortable, Damona. I was like, oh, she doesn't work out, and she doesn't have the body type I usually date. But then my brain's like, wait a second, but you're having so much fun and you can't wait to see her and you are attracted to her. And all you want to do is kiss her and you haven't yet. And so I kept going. And eventually that subsided where I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. I don't need that. I don't even want that. And her mindset is so freeing to me. Instead of a woman that's just like, oh, you didn't work out today. She gives me permission to skip a day. And she makes me feel safe to share my emotions and be vulnerable. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. This is so expansive. And this is better than anything I've ever experienced. So what I would say is there's still a lot of men. Maybe there's something slowing you down from opening up your sales funnel or your dating funnel to allow the right guy that may actually be the best fit for you. And I've gotten 16 people married at this point, and I'll remember one of them, she was not attracted to her now husband through date 8, but the conversation was 10 out of 10. And finally on date 8, she calls me, she goes, "We just kissed. Nick is the sexiest man alive." Like, and is ecstatic. And now they've been married for, I think, 4 or 5 years. So we kind of gotta tweak our strategy and look inside ourselves sometimes. But trust me, there's plenty, especially at that age. Like, I coach mostly women over 60. In the 30s, there's a much bigger dating pool than the folks in the 60s, and you can get it done. You have to stay at it. You have to be happy, have a right mindset, and you'll get it done.
Oh, I love your story. And you also the story that you told about your client too. And I love that you sort of coach her to stay in it, to get to that point. I always say, let curiosity lead. And usually I find by like date 3, you're starting to think about it, but it's amazing that she was curious enough to continue to go 8 dates to get to that point. Marcia here in the chat says, to me, it's all about the kiss. And I know like some people are more intimate at different levels at different places, but I want to go back to Jasbina, because there was a really great question in here that I want to present to you. As a matchmaker, what do you think about women initiating? Should women initiate contact or encourage men to contact them in early dating? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And let's talk about online first. Okay. So, because online is a place a lot of people, a lot of people meet. So with respect to online, I definitely think it's really important for women to greenlight men by sending an initial reach out, right? I like women to go ahead and, have a profile, have pictures that really would attract the kind of people they're trying to attract, right? Putting their real self out there. And then at that point, going ahead and confidently doing a reach out to men that they find. Don't kind of sit around with a profile and picture and just wait for the men to come to you. So I think initiating online with respect to sending a reach out is actually very, very well serving. In terms of out and about, right? I think that a woman can definitely greenlight a guy also by just the way she is, right? When you're offline, don't be with like a group of other women and just kind of there, but rather, right, and be approachable, right? Be looking around, give eye contact, smile. All of these things actually really do encourage the guy. So sort of it's warm over here. Feel free to come over. I didn't realize when I was single what a big deal it was for a guy to approach a woman. And I think a lot of women kind of take it for granted. And I did, right? That, if a guy has confidence, they will approach. But, a lot of actually need a little bit of a green light there to go ahead and be willing and vulnerable to go ahead and do that. And I think, when women are looking for partnership, right, helping facilitate that kind of an interaction, I'd say.
I 100% agree with you. And, I started writing dating profiles about 17 years ago. And I have always said women should initiate. I say, you want to be the person doing the choosing. You're not sitting around waiting to get chose. And I really think this is something that has shifted in modern dating, and the dating apps have leveled the playing field, because before we did have to sort of wait for somebody to fill our dance card. We don't have to do that now. Like, we don't need to ask for permission. And I'm sort of waiting for this moment when we're really finally ready to let that go. And of course, Bumble has become very successful with their format of only allowing women to make the first move. but it's something that has really worked for a long time, and it works online and off. I want to ask a very different question though. Yogi Marquise, I'm going to come to you because I think you will have something to say about this question. How important is my physical size for online dating? I'm on the heavy size, and this hurts me, even though I'm terrific. What do you think?
I want, as a person who used to weigh 360 pounds myself, the truth is, you're just looking for one person. There is a person that is out there that will appreciate every curve, nook, cranny, everything about you. And all you have to do is just find that one person, be confident, be okay. It's like the thing that I see that sometimes when folks are they're insecure about their body shape online is they'll have the close-up picture that's just their face. It's like, no, so they're gonna find out when you guys go on a date, put everything out there. It's okay, because there's gonna be some guy or some lady that says, yes, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I love, this is what I appreciate. So it's like the story that you hear inside of your head is what society says because of magazines and yada yada yada. But the truth is, the person that loves you is going to love all of you and everything about you, and just be yourself and allow that magic to happen.
Definitely agree. And I just want to frame this for everyone listening, because there's this feeling that the grass is always greener and everybody else is having more fun. Everybody's at the fun party and I'm sitting over here in the basement with the losers. And it's just not true. Like this idea in my research for F the Fairy Tale, I was looking also at, the sex recession and how everyone is having less sex than they were before, of all ages and all places. And sometimes it feels like, especially because dating has become a very sort of singular, siloed process, particularly during the pandemic when we were all isolated, we didn't have that perspective. And we started to compare ourselves to an unrealistic ideal. Yes, there are the people, they're like the Instagram models that are going to get responses from 90% of the people. They're going to get Hail Marys from 90% of the people. They're not responding to 90% of the people. And the research that I looked at in F the Fairy Tale showed that it's actually better to be more specific, both in your dating profile, with your pictures, everything. It's better to be more specific, because those who were polarizing, meaning some people were like, that's my person, and other people were like, oh, never. Those who were polarizing actually had higher rates of dates. We're getting offline, we're moving into relationships, and we're more satisfied with the dating process. So I just want to make sure, you guys understand, we're not, you guys, meaning everyone listening here, all of our viewers and participants here, that it's not just platitudes where we're like saying, be confident and be yourself. There's actual data to back this up. So thank you for your answer on that, Yogi Marquise. Another thing that I hear a lot of times on the Dates and Mates podcast is that people have limiting beliefs around age. They think that especially online, all the men want to date someone younger, or online dating isn't right for someone my age. I hear this also with people, when I'm enrolling for my program. Well, can it work for someone of my age if I'm over 50 or over 60? We have a question here, Mike, from an anonymous attendee. They say, it seems like most dating advice is directed towards younger people, 20s, 30s, maybe 40s. Do you have different advice for older people, age 50s and up? Mike, I know you've written a book for dating ages 50 and up. You're on YouTube talking to people of all ages all the time. What is your dating advice that is directed towards older people? Is it different? And what do you say about all of the dating advice that's directed towards people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s?
I would say you can have a massive competitive advantage when you're dating in your 50s and 60s, which I want to talk about now, that you can have over the 20 and 30-year-olds. So especially like I work mostly with 60-year-olds. And what's wonderful about some of the 60-year-olds is they didn't grow up with the internet. And, I did. So if they can get very competent or hire someone who's extremely competent with the internet, they can get a massive competitive advantage online. And what that looks like is messaging a good amount of men. Like a lot of your peers that you're competing with, if you will, are messaging 2, 4, 5, 6 people. But if you can message, let's say, for example, 50 men, and then let's say 12 give you a response, now you've got 12 date options, and you just select one, you're going to go on good dates. Where everyone else in your age demographic is not doing that. So I would highly suggest, starting to execute that. And to Damona's point, not sitting there and waiting for men to message you, but actually going out there and messaging all these men that you may be interested in. Does that make sense?
100% makes sense. And yeah, some of it is volume, some of it is specificity, but yeah, a lot of it is also knowing that you're not alone and that there are people that are looking for someone just like you. So, man, I could talk to y'all all day, but it's 6:00 in West Coast time. So our next panel is going to be starting, but you all have amazing, amazing gifts that are available for everyone who has signed up for the F the Fairy Tale Forum. You all will get an email tomorrow. I feel like I'm repeating myself because I know people are kind of coming and going, but you'll get access to all the panels. And you'll also get access to all of these gifts that we have over $1,400 in gifts that all the panelists today are giving you for free, just for signing up for the F the Fairy Tale Forum. So Jaspina has How to Connect with a Man on a First Date, 6 Secrets from a Matchmaker. She has such a wonderful perspective, and she has been doing this for a very long time. She's a certified matchmaker. Y'all are going to want to check that out. Thank you for offering that, Jaspina.
My pleasure. It's pulled from countless feedback sessions. So, yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that and for sharing your perspective today. And Mike, you have given folks a lovely gift as well. How to get a guy and keep a guy forever. Not just get them, you got to keep, you got to catch them and keep them. So that will be in the replay page that you receive tomorrow. Thanks for being here, Mike.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you, Yogi Marquise. Yogi Marquise is part of my team. And I always love sharing his perspective and having him work with me to create these amazing transformations for folks of all ages, all sizes, all locations, all over the world. So thank you all. And we are going to roll into our next panel in just a second. We've got our panelists waiting in the wings here. I'm going to unmute them and get them going up to the stage. All right. All right. They are here. They are here. My dear friend Orna is physically holding my book. She got an advanced copy, y'all. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Orna and Matthew, her husband, first. They are awesome, awesome love coaches, but they're so much more than that. They are world-renowned dating experts and high-performance coaches. They have been featured on Bravo's The Millionaire Matchmaker. They've helped transform thousands of singles around the globe. They have a new book that they're writing that will be out in January of 2025 through a division of Penguin Random House. And they are dedicated to spreading the message that having love is an inside job. Sidebar, Orna and our friend Carol, who you'll meet in the next panel, are the reason for this forum. They're the reason that this is even happening. They threw a book shower for me that our next guest was actually at. I'll introduce him in just a second. And they really rallied our community of love experts around F the Fairy Tale. So I'm so forever grateful. I'm so happy to have you and Matthew here with us tonight. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks, Damona. It's really great to be here. You can see Orna's really excited.
I'm just a little excited to be here. I love that I get to hold this here, and I'm so excited for everybody who's part of this at the Fairy Tale Forum because there's life-changing, really good stuff in these pages.
Thank you. I believe it when you say it, Orna, because you have been in this business for a very long time. And so has our next guest that we're welcoming to the stage. You probably know him. You probably already love him, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. He is Evan Marc Katz. He is known as the dating coach for smart, successful women. He's the author of not one, not two, not three, but 4 books. And he's been featured on so many media outlets, hundreds of media outlets since 2003. His blog has over 35 million readers. His podcast has over 2.5 million downloads. 13,000 women have taken his course, Love You, and his video course. It's his video course that helps smart, successful women find love. He's happily married, living in Los Angeles, and he's also one of my very first friends in this business. He took the call from me like, I don't know, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, when I was like, I'm thinking of leaving my TV producing career behind and being a full-time love coach. And I'm grateful to you for your time then and for your time now. Evan Marc Katz.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting to be here among friends and watch everybody, their new books blossoming in the media. This is really just great for me. So thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad that you are here specifically to talk about the pillars. So earlier in the night, we talked about the myths, the 4 big love myths, which I go into in detail in the wonderful book that Orna is holding, and that's right here behind me. But I didn't want to just leave people hanging with the myths and identifying the problems. I really am a solutions-based coach. So I have replaced all of the myths with pillars, with the 4 pillars of long-term compatibility. And I wanted to specifically have the 3 of you talk to us today about the goals and values pillars. I see goals and values as the biggest predictors of long-term compatibility. I have heard from a lot of other dating coaches, and you both have been, you all have been on the Dates and Mates podcast before. So I feel like we are in agreement that goals and values are important, whether you put them as the first pillar or the first thing in your programs or not. But I just want to know the how. How do you help clients really clarify what are their relationship goals through this process when you're coaching, and what are their values? What are they matching on? Evan, I'm going to start with you. How do you do this with clients in Love You?
I'm really obviously supportive of the idea that values come first. I think if anything, I want to look at it from a slightly different angle, which is to say, because we know this, there's this tendency to want to figure out if someone is your soulmate in the first hour and a half of meeting them. And I generally think that's not the most effective way to date. So we could hold 2 contradictory ideas in our head at the same time and say, yes, you don't even want to get started if your vision is marriage and kids and he's just looking to have fun, right? But we don't want to interrogate a total stranger and hand them a questionnaire across the dinner table before you get your Caesar salad to try to establish what these values are. So I believe in an organic dating process where we pay attention, we listen really closely to our feelings and allow people to reveal themselves. And you would be shocked to discover that in the first month of dating, you could figure a whole bunch of things about someone that will prevent you from making a colossal mistake.
Okay, so I'm with you on that. And, I say the goals, the goals and values, we have to start first with knowing our own, because a lot of times people come to me and I say, well, what are you looking for? And they're like, well, I'll know it when I see it. So what are some questions that we can either ask ourselves or, as you were saying, on a date, ask the person across the table, hopefully not across the table, maybe more kitty corner, because that's my recommendation on a date. So it's not an interview. But how do we engage the other person so it's not an interview, as you said, Evan? Like, how can we make this more of a conversation?
there's a wonderful, widely read New York Times piece citing, I think it was Elena Aron, 36 questions to help you fall in love on a first date. Have you ever seen this thing?
Oh, I've seen it. Not only have I seen it, one of the shows that I hosted was called A Question of Love, and it was inspired by those 36 questions. But I want to hear your perspective on it.
So the point is not that you come in with a cheat sheet of 36 questions. What it does so ably is point out that dating is about intimacy, but it's not the kind of intimacy that most people establish on a date. So people go on dates with so how did you vote in the last election? Do you have money saved in the bank? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is not how we gather information, right? It has to feel more organic. So it's putting aside the agenda of trying to figure out your future, your values. You're not trying to do that. You're coming from a place of curiosity, and you're talking about feelings and hopes and dreams and past relationships and his relationship with his mom and his sister. And right, it's more about that than what are you streaming? What's the next country you're going to? It's establishing just through real conversation without the weight of let's figure out our future. And I think that to me is as important as trying to figure out core values at the very beginning, because those things, people could say anything and it doesn't mean anything. It's really, how does someone continue to treat you over time, and listening to, do I feel relaxed? Do I feel anxious? And walking away from relationships that make you feel anxious. So I'm not disagreeing with your assertion that incompatible values will eventually blow you up. It's that I don't think you could establish them as quickly as often people want to.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And we always begin in my programs with the you. Like, you are you're the magnet that's attracting the right people to you. But you also have to be able to answer some of those questions yourself. And I find that sometimes people want to answer those questions through the dating process and in relationship, but I find it goes a little bit better if you've done that investigation and that journey yourself. I'm going to go over to Orna and Matthew, because I know you've led a lot of people through this experience, and you help people examine their love imprint. TM, love imprint. That's an Orna and Matthew special. But you really do a deep dive with clients, where yes, you're getting them out on dates and using the dating apps and everything, but your process starts from sort of a different place than maybe mine, or another coach's might. Tell us about it.
Well, definitely. I mean, what most people don't realize is they're attracted to what is familiar. And what is familiar to them comes from their family of origin in their early childhood from 0 to 8. And so, you think about that young baby that comes into the world. And we always say that, that baby is the human embodiment of the energy of love. They have no story about love. They give love freely. They receive love freely. I mean, with your kids when they came in, they're just little love bombs, right? But they learn very quickly in your family of origin, you learn that love is conditional in some way. And in that understanding love is conditional, you take in this story about yourself. You say, what is wrong with me that my parent isn't able to love me the way I need to be loved? What is wrong with me that my dad is emotionally distant? And we take on these wounding stories, and then they become part of a subconscious program, your love imprint, as you said. And when we go out in the world as adults, our subconscious mind is highlighting people that match that energetic story. And it says, this is familiar, this is familiar, this is familiar. And what people don't realize is that this is familiar signal, we confuse it for excitement, and we confuse it for attraction. And what it is just, this is what you're used to. This is the same thing. Here's that same emotionally unavailable guy. Here he is again. Here he is again. And they're highlighted, right? You say that we're a magnet attracting, but it's more that we're a filter highlighting what we already know.
Like we all know that when you walk into a room of people, you don't consciously decide to find someone attractive, right? It's not a conscious decision. It's something that seems to just happen. And that happening, like Matthew said, it's based on the familiar. It's really the flaw in the system, because the subconscious mind has one job and one job only. And that job is to keep you alive. And so it highlights the familiar. Like our mind in every moment is filtering through 2 million bits of information to say, what's familiar here? We've had that experience of walking into a room and connecting with somebody. It may not be an attraction, but suddenly we start up a conversation with somebody and we have all these things in common with them. That's not kismet, it's science. Your brain is meant to highlight what is familiar. Because if you're alive right now, whatever you've been through, you've survived. So your subconscious is guiding you towards the familiar, but here's the flaw. Your subconscious can't judge. That happens in the conscious mind. The analytical mind is the part of you that evaluates and judges and analyzes. So your subconscious doesn't know if it's guiding you towards something familiar by highlighting it and bringing you joy or bringing you misery, because it can't judge. It just says, this is familiar, ding, 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 because the subconscious has 2 buckets, known and unknown. So when we start with a client, we always start with that individual client. We don't start with dating. We assign dating about a third of the way through. If you look at our program as 3 parts. So the first part is about them, their love imprint, who they are at their highest and best self. Because we believe you connect with that special person. You connect with your beloved, your whatever you want to call it, your soulmate, your right person, your partner, whatever. That you do that on the path to your highest and best self. And you do that from really going through the process of understanding that you are the common denominator, right? Like I love Evan's point. You said this point about paying attention to how you feel when you're with somebody. You know, we always talk about when we do assign dating, how do you feel in a sense on the walk to the car, right? I mean, it's funny that all of us on this panel all worked in the film industry or in the entertainment industry, the TV and film industry. And I thought, well, that's interesting, because having worked for someone like Jerry Bruckheimer, one of his best quotes, like it's all over the place, Jerry would say, we keep them or lose them on the walk to the car. So after a movie, are they still talking about the movie? They're not talking about the movie. And I think of dating the same way. What are you feeling when you immediately separate from that person? We ask our clients, what do you feel on the walk to the car? And this is based on what I was going through when I was single. I remember going out with like a super hot guy. And when we parted, oh my gosh, my inner critic was reaming me up. Oh my gosh. Like it was like, you didn't and you haven't and you should have and you could have and you didn't and you should have and you didn't. And I was like, oh, I can never see that guy again. I don't care how hot he is. My right person will not light my inner critic like that. So I gave him a thumbs down. Nope, no more.
Wow. You just gave us a masterclass, both of you, on like so much about how our prior experiences impact our attractions. We have a bunch of questions in the chat. So I'd love to talk to you more about goals and the pillars and goals and values, but I want to get some real world help for the folks that are submitting questions right now. If you're just joining us, there's a little Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Go ahead and pop any questions or comments in there. We're not doing any live questions today or the chat, because we have a lot of people watching from all over the world, and we just want to have it be a enjoyable, streamlined experience for you. You have enough notifications and chats going, I'm sure, but a lot of great questions here that have been submitted. What about this one, Evan? Okay, so you come from actually originally, like, you know, I say I was writing dating profiles back before even people knew what online dating was. And you were doing it even before that. You worked at JDate, correct? You worked at JDate and you were like answering the phones. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, I mean, 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, I was a screenwriter who couldn't sell a screenplay. It's not an uncommon story. And so while I was putting myself through film school, I got a job answering phones at JDate, doing customer service, getting yelled at by strangers, a job I'm temperamentally not suited for. And I did that for about a year. And when I decided to write a book called I Can't Believe I'm Buying This Book, A Common Sense Guide to Successful Internet Dating. And it was when online dating was going mainstream for the first time. New York Times magazine cover story validated the mainstreaming of online dating. And for once in my life, I was in the right place at the right time. And I built a business called eCyrano. It still exists. Writing people's online dating profiles. And so, I've written thousands of profiles. I've probably written 1,000 by myself. And it's a rare superpower. It's one of the things where I heard the previous panel, you're talking about profiles, like, oh man, I wish I got that question.
Well, you can answer that question, the question that you wish you got, and then I have a follow-up question from one of the viewers right now. But tell us, like, give us a masterclass.
I would be thrilled to spend a minute telling everybody how to write the world's greatest profile that nobody does. And this is not a Bumble profile, which is 1 line long. This is a conventional, here's a Match.com profile. Start here. Think of the 5 adjectives that you would use to describe yourself the most. Damona, what are the 5 adjectives you would use to describe yourself the most?
Curious, enthusiastic, hardworking.
Okay, let's just start there. Let's start with curious. It's a great word. Now, who are we writing this profile for? It's not about you, right? You think it's about you, but this isn't a bio. It's not a resume. It's not a diary entry. This is a personal ad. It's designed to attract attention, if you're heterosexual, of a man. So how does your curiosity, or how has your curiosity benefited a guy in the past? So you tell a story about a guy you dated and how your curiosity benefited him. I found the coolest out-of-the-way restaurant when we were in Florence that wasn't in any of the guidebooks, and the owner took us into his private wine cellar for drinks after he closed down the restaurant.
Did you know that story, Evan?
I've been doing this for a long time. So when you can take your core characteristics and turn them into 1-line anecdotes illustrating what someone else gets out of dating you, you'll have a profile like nobody else in the world, because everybody else is nice, smart, kind, warm, funny, hiking, biking, movies, music, travel, best friend, lover, partner in crime. Instead of, what do I get out of dating you? That's the secret. And I've been doing that forever. If you could do it yourself, you never need to hire me.
Thank you for sharing that. You guys, that is seriously gold. And I wish I thought of it, but Evan Mark Katz thought of it first. But you will get an F the Fairy Tale, my strategy for writing dating profiles, which is really similar. I talk about storytelling, and people think that when I say storytelling, I mean long. No, you can say a lot. And I give an example in the book of, like, this is like what you're saying, partner in crime, like all those sort of common things that we see in dating profiles. Then we replace it with more of a story, like you said, and it's the same characters, but it can say a lot more. Thank you. Orna is holding up the book.
Every time you say it's in the book, that's my cue to hold it up.
Thank you. fthefairytalebook.com. It's available for pre-order now. But I want to ask you one more online dating specific question, because it's a question that I get all the time, and I really am dying to hear what your response to it is. And it's from somebody who's live in the room right now. Jeannie says, what's the best site for women over 65?
I appreciate the question. It's honestly one of the most common questions that I get, probably that you guys get as well. Which site do I go to? And to me, which site do I go to is the equivalent of which gym do I lose the most weight? Is it 24-hour fitness? Is it Crunch? Is it Equinox? Where am I going to lose the most weight? When the fact is, it doesn't matter. All gyms work. It's what you do when you go to the gym. So as long as you're on a big mainstream site and there's people there, you're in business. You don't want to go to some niche site that nobody's heard of. But anything you've heard of, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, Coffee Meets Bagel if you're using an app, Plenty of Fish, Match.com, OkCupid, Match owns all of them. Any of them work fine. If you're over 65 and you want to deal with only over 65, go to Our Time. But the site doesn't matter nearly as much as what you do when you go on the site.
Yep. I 100% agree with you. And it's just the tool. I think we put a lot of pressure on the app or the site that we're on like we put all of our hopes and dreams and expectations in it. And then we also, when we have dating frustration or when we have a bad dating experience, we say, well, it's the app. It's that app. I just need another app. when it's really more about, the process. One more question over here for Orna and Matthew. I want to give y'all a juicy one because I know you have like the juiciest answers. Okay, this is a little controversial. Matthew, I want to hear from you first.
Okay.
This is a anonymous attendee who's here with us live right now.
Yeah.
She says, for women, I feel like lots of the time the message is to lower your standards. Meanwhile, men are not improving themselves like we have. And in my area, it feels like a dating desert. My guest on Dates and Mates last week and I literally just talked about the dating desert. So this person says, I have likes on my profile, but not anyone I end up feeling curious about lately. And I don't know if it's connected to the next question. Does that mean that my standards are too high? I'll connect those two questions, whether they're from the same person or different. What's going on? Are women getting better? Men are getting worse? What's happening, Matthew?
It drives me crazy because we hear so often, well, I do all the spiritual growth and the personal growth programs, and I've been to this yoga class and that meditation class, and yet I don't meet any men there that have like-minded. And the thing is, men do not do personal growth the way women do. We do it our own way. A lot of men are do-it-yourselfers. I love to use my brother as an example. He built his own house. He builds his own furniture, and he's also a computer programmer. He is a guy that when he was a kid, I thought my brother's going nowhere. He failed at everything, right? But he then figured out how to put things together, and he actually figured out a lot of Zen principles through building furniture, right? He's one of the most Zen people I know because he just does it with his hands. So if you're expecting a man to be like in your yoga class with you or to go to that personal growth workshop with you, that's a different kind of guy, and you're probably not going to be that attracted to him, right? So you want to just let go of what your preconceived notions of how men do things and how women do things, and just be more curious. I think the place where you want standards, the place where you want to have like a high bar, is when you're committing to a relationship. You want to have a really low bar when you're looking for dates, because you don't know who somebody is in a profile. You have no clue. None of these guys hired a dating coach. They're throwing a picture of them next to their car because it thinks they make them look successful, right? They don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to meet people. And so stop judging a man by his profile and just meet him for coffee or a drink and then get to know him.
I like to say this. I like to say, not an axe murderer. Good. I can go meet him for an hour. I mean, like, seriously, it really depends. I mean, if you're a woman who gets a lot of attention online, then you are going to need some filters, right? I mean, you just are. And, our clients that get a lot of attention online, we're like, you don't even have to respond to everybody. Depending on who you are and where you are, if you're not getting a lot of action, it's not about lowering your standards. It's about really opening up the possibility, because you have no idea where you're going to meet your person. One of my closest friends from college is married to the guy whose brother I met on JDate. Hi, Evan. I never talked to you in customer service. But, so here's the thing, like, you never know. Like, if I hadn't got those two people, by the way, would not have met through JDate, even though they were there, because she's a year older and her age was the cutoff, and she was in the next section. So he was looking his age and younger, and she was at the cutoff group, and she was in the next group. I am, right? So this whole thing about trying to, find out if it's your person by looking at their profile, you're not going to know that. You will never find your partner by looking over their profile. So go and meet somebody. And I kind of look at it like an investment. All the time you spend dating is all the time you're going to spend when you actually have that partner. So if you don't have time to date, you don't have time for a relationship. So stop guarding your time, which is an excuse for really guarding your heart. If you really want to meet your person, I dated more than I ever dated in my entire life this summer before Matthew and I started dating, before we connected. And the thing is I just was at this place of like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna go. I went on blind dates. I went with guys younger than me, older than me. I just went. Like, if somebody wanted to meet with me, I was like, it's an hour. What's an hour? And if they were rude or didn't look like their picture or there was a deal breaker right from the bat, I went, I'm sorry, I'm leaving, bye. And I just got up and took care of myself. I mean, the thing is when you decide you really want to share your life with someone, which I had gotten to, I was like, then I just have to be who I am. Like, let your freak flag fly so your beloved can find you, and go and meet a lot of people. I was at a Manifest Your Soulmate workshop, and this woman at the end said, Orna, can I introduce you to my son? And you know why I said yes to that? I wanted to meet the guy that would let his mother set him up. I thought the guy who would let his mother set up and show up for that date, I want to meet that guy. So stop guarding your time and see it for what it is, because you're really guarding your heart.
Wow. Wow, man, there's more questions. There's so many gems that were dropped. I could talk to y'all all day. I've talked to both of you on Dates and Mates. You're both going to be back on Dates and Mates at some point in the future. But in the meantime, let me tell you about what you all can get from, we have free gifts from all of our panelists tonight. Over $1,400 in free gifts from Evan, from Orna and Matthew, from everybody. Orna and Matthew are giving away their dating success bundle. This is like all of their tools for making dating easy and effective. You get speak how you feel template, 25 limiting beliefs that interfere with finding true love, your breakup script, rate your date journal, and so many things. And that will help you end dating burnout if you're feeling that. And those are all going to be on the replay page that you will get tomorrow, all of those links. And you can just sign up for any of the free gifts that you would like. You can also get from Evan the 7 massive mistakes you're making in dating. So if you're tired of Tinder, you're burnt out on Bumble, you can't seem to find any quality guys, you're not alone. And Evan is going to give you more tips. He dropped some serious gems, y'all. What he told us about writing a dating profile, I hope you were taking notes, but there's more notes for you if you go over and check out what his offer is tomorrow. Thank you both for being here. What a wonderful panel. I learned a lot from talking to the two of you. I have over the years. I'm so grateful to all three of you for supporting me, supporting this book, and being a part of the forum.
Congratulations to you, Damona. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm really just so excited about your book.
Brava. Thank you so much for
more
having
like
us.
it.
Yeah, and you know what? There's gold in here. There's gold in these.
Thank you.
Go get your coffee.
Thank you,
Look,
Orna.
your name's right there, Damona. Oh my God.
I know. And you all, we are doing the world premiere of the book trailer of F the Fairy Tale. So after this panel, we're going to play that for you. And then I'm going to introduce our final panel of the evening. But just a reminder for anyone who's coming in, just popping in for this panel, we are also doing a pre-order giveaway for F the Fairy Tale. Y'all, this is apparently the biggest giveaway that my publisher has ever done. It includes, you could win 2 VIP tickets to the Drew Barrymore show. Like literally sit there on the floor next to Drew, smell her amazing hair and perfume. You will laugh, you will cry. It is literally the funniest taping. And as Orna was saying, we've all worked in entertainment. They're not all fun and funny. This show is super funny. You could win tickets to that. You could win a $500 travel voucher. You could win a $500 shopping spree courtesy of Democracy Clothing. I am wearing a Democracy dress, super comfortable, super inclusive, size inclusive. And you could also win an OkCupid premium membership. So that's all at damonahoffman.com/giveaway, all just for buying the book. It's $30. And you can get it on sale through my publisher now. Go to damonahoffman.com/giveaway and you'll have all the info there. Thank you, Orna and Matthew. I'm so excited to have you all here with me tonight celebrating. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yay.
All right. Our last panel of the evening, y'all, it's some heavy hitters. I will introduce them in just a second, but first I will show you the 1-minute trailer of F the Fairy Tale so you know just what's inside of this book for you.
Dating today is effed. From ghosting and swipe fatigue to the texting trap, the idea of fairy tale romance has faded. I know this because for nearly 20 years, I've studied online dating and worked behind the scenes at the biggest dating apps in the world. You may have even seen my work on TV.
Our resident dating expert, Damona Hoffman, and Drew Kruger, who is my very, very good friend.
Or in magazines. But what I'm most passionate about is helping real people understand what's really happening in modern love. Even with the complexity of the current dating scene, you can still live your own love story. But it's time to bust the myths and ditch our outdated thinking. It's not your fault that you've been holding on to these broken beliefs. Rom-coms and romance novels have told us that we should feel butterflies when we meet our person. But those butterflies may actually be warning signs that we're reading all wrong. We must shift away from myths, lists, and rules because we're on the brink of a new relationship paradigm, one that's driven by the real pillars of love. The lead character of your love story deserves a happily ever after, and now you get to create it.
That is my labor of love of the last 3 years. And I am thrilled to bring my next panelist to the stage because she actually was instrumental in even bringing this book to the masses, to making this book a reality. She's adorable and wearing a Christmas hat, but she's so much more than that. She's a Vedic astrologer and relationship coach. Her methods are really a blend of East and West, and she combines her training in astrology in India with cutting-edge real-world relationship research. She's been featured on E!, on Bridezillas, on Extra, on Dr. Drew's Life Changers, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Daily Candy. I could literally go on and on, but
and Dates and Mates like 3 times.
Yes, she is. I love having Carol, especially at the top of the year. She gives us like a whole overview, an astrological love overview. But first and foremost, you are here because you're my very good friend. And literally, Carol, I'm so grateful to you. Oh my God, I really get emotional. I was not trying to write a book, y'all. And Carol kicked me in the ass and was like, why are you not writing a book? We were going hiking and she was like, 1 month from now, you're going to write a book proposal and we're going to meet back up here and we're going to make this happen. And it did. So thank you for being here, Carol.
Well, I think I was like the 87th person because let's review, you, OG, had already been writing for the LA Times, writing for the Washington Post, had your own podcast for almost a decade, and then got a major TV show with a giant movie star where you were like a regular, and it was just a no-brainer. It was just time. So I went like this after you did 10 jillion hours of preparation.
Well, thank you. But I needed the kick to really get it done. And, you know, I know a lot of the people here really are looking for that little kick in love. And maybe you're how I was like, well, I know I should do it. I know I want to do it. I don't know how to get started. So our second panelist today has been doing that for so many years. She is a New York Times best-selling author. New York Times. Do you know how hard it is to get to be a New York Times best-selling author? Well, this person has done it. She wrote Conscious Uncoupling, 5 Steps to Living Happily Even After. She also wrote Calling in the One, 7 Weeks to Attract the Love of Your Life, which I noticed is back on the bestseller list. Catherine, amazing. And wow, I mean, I could go on and on. She also certifies Calling in the One coaches and Conscious Uncoupling coaches. So she's not only doing the work and bringing this information to daters herself, but she's the fairy godmother to other coaches that are carrying on her work. Please welcome in Catherine Woodward Thomas.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's such an honor to be with you. Really, I'm so excited for this book. I love what you're saying. You have like just a wealth of information in this book. It's awesome. And I'm here with my friend Carol too. I just adore.
I know. I love you, honey. Great to see you.
Okay, y'all, I told you, heavy hitters. These are the real deal heavy hitters of love that have been doing this for so many years. And they both are familiar with my work and the 4 myths and the 4 pillars of long-term compatibility that I talk about in F the Fairy Tale. So I wanted to save the two pillars that I feel like are really truly foundational, are very important, but actually take the most time to define. And that's communication and trust. Catherine, you wrote Conscious Uncoupling. And at the core of that, I really see communication at the core of so much of your work. What insights can you share with our viewers today on how to improve communication with a partner or with a date?
So I love that question. Thank you. And I think it's very important for us to remember that our relationships with others can never really be any better than our relationship with ourselves. So you can learn all of the good communication techniques like I statements, speaking for yourself, all the many things, even how to start a fight with something kind of positive and keeping your voice soft. Those are all really helpful interpersonal skills to build. But the truth is that if you are secretly inside of yourself projecting the worst case scenario onto the other person, like they're going to leave me, or they don't really care about my feelings and needs, or they're in it to get something and they're going to just use me, then how that communication is going to come out is distorted. And it's not going to actually go in the direction that you're hoping it will go. So I always like to say, who is the I in I love you? Which you is speaking? Is it the wounded, traumatized part of you that your father never showed up or your mother was always critical? So you're coming in through that lens. Or is it the adult center that can really inquire and be curious and negotiate the conversation in a way that really could deepen understanding between you and grow trust?
Wow. You answered both questions. You answered a question I didn't even ask. I'm like, that's how good she is, y'all. And I just want to point everyone's attention to, there's a Q&A button at the bottom. This is a rare treat to have Catherine Woodward Thomas and Carol Allen in the room and in the same room together. So if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box. We're not doing the chat tonight, but we're doing the Q&A box. And I've got a couple of I got some fans of both of your work, actually, that have submitted to say that, Carol, your right man report is the most accurate way to see if there's long-term potential. We're going to talk about the astrological aspect of this in a moment.
Thank you, whoever that was.
That's Alexis. Shout out, Alexis. And Jeannie says,
the check is in the mail.
And Jeannie says, calling in the one is the bomb. It's really helping her a lot. And she says, thank you, Catherine.
Thanks.
All right, Carol, let's get astrological for a moment. Look, I get my annual report from you. What is the report called?
It's called the Personal Success Calendar, and it's a daily guide to helping you plan your days in alignment with the forces of the universe.
Yes,
so
I get that every January. All my clients get that every January. I just, as we're framing from an astrological perspective, I see in your approach, it's not so much about we read in the drugstore, this drugstore horoscopes. It's like, so-and-so goes with so-and-so, or so-and-so doesn't go with so-and-so.
Right.
And some matches are just going to have challenges from an astrological perspective. That's what I've I've learned from you, and there's much more than just what people think of as their sun sign. And then I know there's Western and there's Vedic astrology, which is what you practice. But
yes,
how do you frame this idea of, the compatibility, the astrological compatibility for daters with communication and trust in mind?
Well, I really am a believer, and I've seen it for over 30 years now, that we all come in with a divine design. We all come in with a temperament and a personality from birth. And actually, my mother worked for a big time biochemist at Stanford University, and he said 91% of personality is genetic. So he was singing my song just through a different filter, right? So we all have a way of being and a way of responding to life that's unique to us. And some of us go together naturally and easily, and some of us just don't. And this helps to explain why you can meet somebody and just feel so familiar, so at ease, so relaxed, so good. And then you can meet somebody else and you feel so insecure, so anxious, so thrown off, and so bad. And based on very little interaction. And why is that? Why is that there's like a spark with some people and there's just a like, ugh, with others? And it's not something we need to, blame ourselves up for or beat ourselves up for. And there are combinations between people, and it's way more complicated than like, hey, Aquarius, you're great with Libra and Gemini. Like, it's so much more complicated. I wish it was that simple. But it really helps to explain why you'll respond differently and be your best self with some people and just fall apart with others. And so you want to look for those people where you don't have to work so hard and you don't have to try so hard and you don't have to take so many courses on communication, where you naturally, your loving side, your calm side, your patient side, your secure side comes more forward with that person. And getting to know someone, we're all a little nervous and insecure in the beginning. So, but if you keep being that way, I promise you the energy is off.
Okay. So I'm just gonna ask the question, because I've gotten a few times tonight, and I've gotten a lot on the Dates and Mates podcast. Like, maybe I'm just not meant to be in a relationship. Maybe I'm not a relationship person. Are some signs just like not good in communication, not good in relationships?
No, it doesn't work that way at all. If it did, we would all have cesarean section. We would all have cesarean sections, and we would all make sure to, like, no more of a certain sign would ever be born, right? But it's so much more involved than that. You can have healthy, wonderful, high capacity, high emotional intelligence people of every sign, and you can have serial killers of every sign. Okay, so what matters more is what's called astrological affliction or high capacity. And you can see things like emotional and romantic high capacity. People with high capacity, have empathy, and they have generosity, and they can hear someone without being defensive, and they can care how their partner feels, and they can have grace and forgiveness if their partner doesn't say something sweetly or softly or start a fight with a compliment. All those things Catherine was suggesting, which are all things that absolutely are helpful. But if somebody has high capacity, you can behave badly around them and they'll be like, whoa, are you okay? What do you need? That's a high capacity person. Someone else, you can say all the right things and you can tiptoe and you can compliment them and tell them how great they are, and they'll still freak out if they don't like what you're asking of them, or if they don't, if they don't have the compassion, the empathy, if they're too selfish, too angry, too sensitive, too depressive, too independent to be in a relationship. So it's incredible. Astrology shows all of this. I practice the system from India, and it's been used for centuries to arrange marriages. And the first thing the ancient books on relationship astrology say isn't look first to compatibility. They say look first to each individual and how much astrological capacity do you both have, and only consider candidates that have high capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why it sometimes feels easy with someone. And then the other times like, well, why am I working so hard at this?
Well, and that's why sometimes you can be madly in love with somebody and they can claim to be madly in love with you. And when it's good, it's like nectar of the gods. But when there's a conflict of any kind, it completely devolves and it completely falls apart so easily, even though the chemistry is amazing, you laugh easily, you agree on stuff, and you claim to love each other. And so so communication is very, very important, but what's really important is do your vibes flow, man.
Well, I know you're going to give everyone the astrological archetypes for singles later. Yes. Everyone will get that in their email. So we'll save some of that juicy, and then you can find out if you sign up for that, how to get the personal success calendar as well. But we've got so many questions, Carol and Catherine, we got so many questions here. I'm going to try to get through as many. This is the last panel of the night. So I'm going to try to let's rapid fire through as many as we can. We're not going to be able to rapid fire because some of these are really deep questions. But anonymous attendee says, Catherine, I'm going to direct this to you first. Do you find it true to be that the scarcity mindset really plays out in limiting success in dating? I get so few responses, which leads me to experience scarcity. How do I bring abundance into my dating life?
That is such a deep question. I'm just trying to think how I can create that value for you in like 60 seconds here. So
you get the calling in the one starter kit certainly after this, but
so calling in the one is about becoming magnetic, and becoming magnetic is really about the consciousness that you're centered in. So, a lot of the dating conversation is almost like the waves at the top of the ocean. And then there's something informing the waves, like whatever is happening at the deepest level. So inside of a scarcity pattern where no one's really showing up, I would call that maybe like I'm chronically alone, like no one's just actually showing up and here for me. So that's how I would look at it. Now, the secret sauce in calling in the one is a kind of grown-up conversation, because it's saying, well, how am I the source of the pattern? I love Carol. Carol and I are like two opposite pillars. I can hold the complexity, but I'm all about grow the part of you, the part of you that's immature, the part of you that gets defensive in an argument, the part of you that wants love but pushes it away. And I see it at the deepest level. And usually so I call it a false love identity. And it's usually set up in early childhood with our original caregivers, because beliefs are relational. And if somebody actually was negligent, or if somebody was actually burdened by the responsibility of caring for you, that gets internalized as an identity. Now, a lot of us are in therapy to try and fix that. But where I look to actually transform it, because I see healing and transformation as two different domains, is I go into the future. What are you standing for creating, and who will you need to be in order to manifest that? And then I teach people to name that core identity that's showing up as I'm not vulnerable, or I am self-sufficient to the extreme, or I somehow am the giver in a relationship, and I'm hard to, make it hard for people to find their way into my world. I'm not very receptive. So you want to see all the ways that you're showing up kind of habitually that are generating that particular story. And then be able to really work with the younger self in your body and say, I didn't come here to be alone. I came here to love and be loved. It's my destiny to be loved. And how am I going to need to grow? Well, I'm going to need to speak more authentically from my heart in a way where somebody can really connect with me. Or I'm going to need to learn how to engage conflict instead of being so conflict avoidant. Because if you're conflict avoidant, you're not actually deepening the relationship, and you're kind of alone in that relationship. So there's all sorts of ways that I really kind of unpack how we're the source of the pattern in a way that liberates us to outgrow it and create something completely new and unprecedented.
I love that, Catherine. And I love your your philosophy just helps make it all make sense, and it gives everyone back their power. And I'm aiming to do a similar thing with F the Fairy Tale, to let people know that we don't have to just take on this, like, the feeling of dating frustration. You can use dating and relationships as a mirror, as a tool, as an opportunity for self-growth. But I know it's hard. And I'm seeing in the questions that have come in that people are struggling in this experience. And certainly dating has changed. The dating apps and the speed of dating, the way we communicate, it has really forever changed the way that we relate. And I'm seeing a question right here from an anonymous attendee. Carol, I'm going to take this one to you. How do you keep your energy up when you've been dating for a long time and you're still waiting to meet your life partner? Now, I have to tell you, Carol, before you answer, this person says that they're 26 and starting to think that it will never happen. And I bet you have dating coach advice for this person, and probably also astrological advice that might help illuminate how to keep their energy up.
Well, first of all, I love that question so much, because I always joke, 26-year-olds tell me it's too late and 76-year-olds tell me it's too late. And a very dear friend of mine is in her mid-70s. And in the last 3 years, she's been in the most beautiful, passionate, in love, effortless soulmate relationship of her life. So, one day that 26-year-old that asked that question is gonna get it, right? That she's very young, and she's maybe been dating since she was 12. I mean, I started dating in nursery school. So it is possible to be exhausted by the time you're 26. And if you've had a lot of evidence that it's, always hard for you, then you start thinking it's always going to be. So my heart goes out to her, and good for her for being here. And I love, love, love the book as well. And I'm super jealous. Where did Orna get one? Because you can't get them yet. So I've been waving mine
she
around.
knows somebody. Come over to my house. I'll give you one.
Now I'm grumpy.
No, you can pre-order it on
Okay.
AtTheFairyTaleBook.com. No, I'll get
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my gosh. Okay. But what I do want to say is that half the population are what are called late bloomers in love. And this is astrological. And they don't come into what I call their season of love until they're at least in their mid-30s. And this is part of why we have such a high divorce rate, because so many people marry before they are ready, before they even know themselves, before they've developed themselves, right? Before they've come into their confidence, before they really know what they want. And, we don't all have the same life path. And there's nothing wrong with having, a marriage that's only a few years or even less, right? Or having relationships that don't lead to marriage. And, if you are a late bloomer in love, it's really your, pardon my language, it's really your destiny to have your full, most lasting, most fulfilling relationships in the second half of life. And so it does break my heart when people decide how the movie should go. And then when the movie isn't going the way they think it should go, they want to leave the theater and throw their popcorn on the floor, right? We have to be very careful. I call it living in the mental realm versus living from, the transcendental or the sacred. When we live in the sacred, every day is a gift, and what's happening, is what's happening for you. And this all takes faith, Jamona. This takes faith. It takes faith, and it takes trust. And sometimes you want to fill your life with love. I like to recommend people live at what I call the level of love, where you love your life, you love what you're doing, you love who you're with, and get an animal, have something in your home that thinks you are a hero that came back from a war every time you leave the house for 2 minutes, right? Like, have something filling your heart so that you go out into the world with full heart. And that is how you can wait until it's your time.
I love that. And you both have such a positive uplifting way of encouraging people to stay with it and to get to their season. We're coming to the end of the night. I want to ask just one more question to each of you, because we do have a lot of questions here in the chat. And I just want all of you to know, if your question didn't get answered here, we're going to put it in queue for the Dates and Mates podcast. And so if you're subscribed to Dates and Mates, I've been doing this show every week for 11 years.
It's
and
so
I do,
good.
Thank you, Carol.
You're such a pro. Yeah. So
I do answer questions every week. So I would love to have your question answered there and make sure that you get the support and love that you are looking for tonight. Because we've had like 80 questions submitted. So we haven't been able to get through all of the questions, but let's go with this one from, wait, where'd it go? This is another anonymous one. Catherine, what do you think are the top 3 deal breakers in a relationship?
Truthfully, I think you really named them, because you talked about having shared values and a shared vision for your life. You're talking about trust. You know, a lot of us are confused, particularly those who are on a spiritual path. And so we aspire to love unconditionally. And love is great unconditionally, and I aspire to that all the time. But relationships are conditional, because relationships require trust, and trust is a conditional phenomenon. So I think it's capacity to create trust. Carol's talking about it, I think, is kind of some people have a more innate capacity. I started at such a low bottom without much capacity to create trust in other people in my relationships that I'm really a developmental queen. So the capacity, someone who's ready for commitment, and someone who shows up with good character. You know, a lot of these things we put on our list, I'm like, those are not the most important things. You know, good character, somebody keeps their word, they have integrity, they treat other people with kindness, they're consistent, they're loving, they're they take responsibility, they're self-responsible. You can find out these things by, number one, you can ask somebody pretty quickly on for something that you want and need that's inconvenient to them. You ask that early on in the dating process. You ask it sweetly, not a demand. But you want to see, how does somebody respond to you when it's inconvenient for them? And the other thing you want to ask is, tell me about your last relationship, and, you know, what had you separate from that person? And if you hear, 15 minutes of she or he and the other person, it's probably, something you'll need to explore, because the truth is that relationships where someone can self-reflect on their part and what they grew, that's the value of what we need to do at a breakup. And you want somebody who can self-reflect like that. So I said a lot. I don't know if it's the top 3. I probably gave you 20 there.
But I think that the bottom line is there are certain undeniable must-haves in a relationship. And then what I'm really encouraging folks to do with F the Fairy Tale is to figure out their own must-haves and their own I give you one deal breaker, y'all, because we could have, like, if we're looking for red flags, we're putting up deal breakers, they could be everywhere. But we have to create that abundant mindset, but also that specific goal, that specific vision of the relationship that we're creating that is different from all of the other people that may be out there also looking for the same thing. I just want to address one person that put in a comment that they still are having trouble maintaining an abundant mindset when they're going out and participating in activities that they love and saying the affirmations and still getting no matches. Carol, can you give folks, before we leave tonight, like 2, maybe 3 tips just on how to access this abundant mindset, and also just straight up how to get more matches? Because I find that there are possibilities that sometimes we haven't even uncovered because we have been doing it the same way for so long.
Well, you are so inspiring in your book, because you talk about how all through school and all through college, everyone around you was dating, everyone around you was getting together, and you were virtually a wallflower from the way you wrote about it, in terms of romance. And you went everywhere with all your friends, but you got no action. And then in your 20s, you became a producer, you got into Hollywood, you learned PR, and you started becoming a very successful dater. So I want to put that back on you and say, like, how did you do that? I mean, I already shared my favorite tip. When you love your life and you're happy and your heart is full, you are a magnet. You're like bees to honey. And then the other thing I would say is, are you shooting fish in a barrel? Are you going to the gym if you're a woman looking for men at 6 a.m. in the weight room? Are you going to happy hour in a little black dress? Are you suiting up and showing up where people are looking your best and getting your flirt on? Because a lot of people just click, click, click and app, and then don't get any attention, but they're not interacting in the real world from that full place. But Damona, when reading your book, I was like, how did she go from being this like social outcast, practically romantically, right, to becoming very proficient at dating and getting a lot of dates? Because you said that. I was like, go Damona.
Carol did read the book, y'all. She got a copy. You got an ebook copy. Yes. That's a great question. Of course, all of it is the answer is in At the Fairy Tale, because I wanted this to be really, really actionable for everyone, right? I say it's a why, how book, not a how-to book. Why is dating so hard today? And then how do we get unstuck? And the biggest advice I would give to this person is strategy. And I know we're like, I don't want to do the strategy, Damona. That sounds like a lot of work. But
yeah, nobody ever does.
But when you look at how much effort you are putting into dating, into texting people back, into swiping, into doing all these date-related activities that are sucking your energy and leaving you feeling depleted and burned out, and how actually it's very little additional effort, and maybe even less effort, if you are more strategic about, as you just said, Carol, where you are going to meet people, how you're showing up. So for me,
do you talk to people, and are you friendly and smiling, and do you compliment people, and
how you show up in those spaces? Because people will tell me, well, I go out and I don't meet anybody.
Right.
Well, are you?
Because they're like this.
Yeah. Are you initiating conversation? And then how are you showing up? And that's why in my program and in the book, we start with mindset. And then we work through the different phases of dating, from mindset to sourcing, where you're finding dates, to screening, how you're determining who's the right match for you, to ultimately get to the future. And that's a lot of what we've been talking about all evening. And of course, it's all in the book for you. But I just want to thank Catherine and Carol for being here tonight. Many of you have asked, how do I get this? How do I get the report? How do I get my archetype? How do I know these percentages? Don't worry, y'all. I got you. Because not only did I invite all of these amazing experts to be here with us live tonight, the fact that I was able to get all of my favorite people here live is just unbelievable. But the fact then that you all offered gifts for everyone who signed up for this event, and that those are free gifts. It's $1,400 in value when we total it all up. Catherine has the starter kit, the Calling in the One starter kit, that will help you see how your patterns in love have been happening, and how why they've been so disappointing for you, and how you can start turning your love life around. So it's got 3 questions to find your true love, and a 50-minute audio seminar. It has so many more things inside that starter kit, and it's yours for free just for attending the seminar, the forum tonight. Thank you, Catherine, for offering that. Thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. It's great to be with you. It's very excited about your book and can't wait to promote it to all my students.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And Carol, the fairy godmother of this book, the co-host of my book shower, the ass kicker. Actually, thank you in the acknowledgments for
I
being
know
an
you
ass
called me an
kicker.
ass kicker. I loved that. I'll kick your ass anytime, baby.
Thank you. Well, I don't just want you to kick my ass. I want you to kick other people's asses very gently. And you do that with the astrological archetypes for singles that you're giving everybody for free. So you all will get the links to all of those tomorrow when you get the replay to all of the panels. If you missed any minute tonight, I've been here for 3 hours, y'all. I haven't peed. I haven't done anything but listen to the wisdom that was shared tonight. Wow. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate you all being here.
Congratulations and happy holidays, everyone. Go forth.
Happy holidays. I love Carol's positivity and the holidays. Thank you, Catherine.
Bye-bye.
And to all of you here watching, thank you for spending your evening with us. It means so much to me that you would take your time to be here and to submit your questions and to be open and to be vulnerable. I would love to continue to support you on this journey with F the Fairy Tale. If you haven't heard yet, we are doing a big giveaway with my publisher. You could win tickets to the Drew Barrymore show. You could win a $500 travel voucher. You could win $500 in clothing from Democracy Clothing, which I'm wearing here tonight. You could also win a premium membership to OkCupid. All you have to do, pre-order the book. Pre-order the book. It's $30 and you can get some deals depending on you buy at any bookseller, anywhere this book is going to be released wide and is available for pre-order everywhere you get your books. So wherever you pre-order, just submit your receipt through damonahoffman.com/giveaway, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win one of those amazing prizes. I am so, so grateful that you spent your evening here with us, and I really look forward to helping you write your own love story. I also do this every week on the Dates and Mates podcast. We will tackle the questions that have come in through the chat on our future episodes. And I wish you happy holidays. If you celebrate, happy Hanukkah. And please be well. Continue to share your wins and your challenges with me. I'm here for you, and I am your partner in love. Thank you so much to my team. Thank you, Julia and Lindsay and Sydney and Yogi Marquise, who have also been here behind the scenes, making sure that everything runs smoothly for you. Sending you much love and wishing you happy dating, as I always say at the end of every Dates and Mates episode. Bye-bye, everybody.